Conference will now be recorded.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to everyone who's with us this afternoon. I'd like to call to order the City of Salmon Arm regular council meeting of Monday, November the 24th. We are meeting both virtually and in person. Welcome to Councillor Lavery, Councillor Wallace Richmond, who are here virtually with us, members of the public and the media as well. Councillor Cannon, Councillor Flynn, and myself are in the council chambers. We, of course, have our staff with us, and we have staff and guests in the gallery. So welcome, everyone. I'd like to begin with our acknowledgement of traditional territory. We acknowledge that we're gathering here on the traditional territory of the Secwepemc people, with whom we share these lands, where we live and we work together. Before we look at adoption of agenda, we certainly have a full agenda today. But for any member of the public or people in the gallery who are here, we have no evening session today. The DP hearing scheduled for this evening has been postponed to our next council meeting, which will be on December 8th at 7 p.m. So no evening session today. We do have a motion for consideration. I'll have the CAO just see if there's any changes and perhaps an adjustment of that motion.
Thank you, Your Worship. There were two late items. An addition of 13.1.14, a letter from the Shuswap Agricultural Association, and late item 13.1.15 from Jay Broadwell, Downtown Seminar.
Great, thank you very much. Just going to check to see if all of council got 13.1.14, the letter from the Agricultural Association. Councillors, have you all received that letter? Okay, I see people nodding. Thank you very much. And then 13.1.15 from Downtown Salmon Arm, and that just came recently. So could I have a motion then to adopt the agenda as amended? Councillor Cannon, thank you. Councillor Lavery, thank you. Any questions around the agenda? I'll call the question. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Just before we proceed with the rest of our agenda, I'd like to recognize our Director of Engineering and Public Works. This is Rob Neuenhausen's final City Council meeting. 18 years with the city, Rob. I figure that is 396 council meetings here in the city of Salmon Arm. So that would mean about 396 planning and development meetings. And Rob was 15 years in Swift Current, so you could add 330 more to that, which is around 1,000. Thank you so much for your service. I know we'll all have an opportunity on Thursday to recognize Rob, but I wanted to publicly, Rob, let you know, not just on behalf of myself, but on behalf of past mayors, and I know all of them would echo my comments, that your support, especially your treatment of people, has been exemplary. So I'd like to thank you for that. Okay. 2 Mondays from now, I wonder what you'll be doing. We will move on then to disclosure of interest. Councillors, do any councillors have a disclosure of interest they'd like to share? Councillor Wallace Richmond, good afternoon. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon. Under presentations, Your Worship, 8.2, Salmon Arm Tourism. I have done tourism work in the past. I've always declared a conflict of interest in this matter, and I'll I'll step away for that presentation.
Thank you, Councillor Wallace Richmond. Councillor Flynn?
Thank you, Your Worship. Let me just double check which ones I had. Definitely 11.1 and 11.2. The Hinbos are clients of Salmon Arm Financial. I am no longer involved in Salmon Arm Financial, but I have declared a conflict in the past. And I believe that is the only one I'm going to declare in the regular session.
Great, thank you very much, Councillor Flynn. Any other disclosure of interest by any councillor? Okay, seeing none, we will move on with our business, starting with a confirmation of minutes for the regular council meeting of November the 10th. I'll take virtual movers and seconders if they would like to move that. Thank you, Councillor Wallace Richmond will move. Councillor Lavery will second. Any additions, deletions to those minutes? All those in favor? Thank you. That passes unanimously. Councillors, we'll go to committee reports. Again, we don't move and second them, but we'll just look at them. So the first one is 6.1 Development Planning Services Committee meeting minutes of November the 17th. Is there any business arising from that meeting? Seeing none, we'll move to 6.2, the Community Heritage Commission meeting minutes of November the 3rd. Any business arising there? We'll go to 6.3, Public Art Advisory Committee meeting minutes of November the 5th. Any business arising from that? Councillor Wallace Richmond, please go ahead with your comment.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to note to council that this was the inaugural meeting of this committee. Very pleased to have such dedicated community members who have supported the arts over many years and continue to do so in the capacity of this committee, and I look forward to the future works of this group. Appreciative of staff for putting together the terms of reference, and it is a big step forward in terms of our cultural master plan, which we have been working on for some time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wallace Richmond, and thank you for taking on the chair of that committee. And two of your committee members are in the gallery today. We'll go to 6.4, Shuswap Regional Airport Commission, Salmon Arm meeting minutes of November the 5th. Any business arising? Seeing none, thank you to all of the chairs and volunteers who sit on those committees. We'll go to Columbia Shuswap Regional District update, see if there's any type of verbal update today around the CSRD. Seeing none, we'll move forward to presentations. And we're lucky to have two presentations today. The first one is the Salmon Arm Folk Music Society. Tony Starkall, Administrative Services Manager. And I'll see Althea is with her today. That's not Kevin, but nice to have you here. Althea, from the Salmon Arm Folk Music Society. And they're going to provide an overview of the society events. Financial statements have been available to council if they have any questions. So welcome to you both. Thank you for coming and speaking to us.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Tony Starkall. I'm the Administrative Services Manager, and this is Althea Mongerson, the Marketing and Sponsorship Coordinator. We are here to share what the Salmon Arm Folk Music Society has been working on this past year, from community concerts to the preparations for the Roots and Blues Festival. It's not going. Oh, there we go. There it goes. And I kick it off. I didn't think I was speaking first. So as you can see up on the slide there, one of the highlights of our year and years is the continued growth of our off-season concert series. So these events help keep our community active and engaged during the quieter months.
We launched the 2025 season with a sold-out Hawksley Workman show at Song Sparrow Hall, with additional sold-out shows featuring artists such as Sue Foley and Colin Linden. This has been a really treasured piece that we've been able to add back in for Salmon Arm Folk Music Society, keeping live music and live events throughout the year, and of course, being able to utilize the wonderful Song Sparrow Hall. Plus, they are fun. Just to add, we've got lots of words here about cultural support and connecting community, but sometimes live music is just good old fun.
Community engagement. Our downtown tuned-up series, along with our Thursday night kickoff concert, brought strong crowds into the downtown core and created that community atmosphere. Partnerships with local businesses remain essential to our engagement efforts. We also expanded our involvement with our local nonprofit organizations through our environment crew, offering valuable volunteer opportunities, increasing community participation, and helping us maintain a clean, sustainable event space. We also continue to work with other like-minded organizations with our equipment sharing program, supporting community events like the Shuswap Trail Alliance by providing access to our SL100 and other equipment. Accessibility remains an important focus. In 2024, we introduced a volunteer-run accessibility crew to support attendees who may need additional assistance. This initiative was very well received, and we continue to expand it further in 2025. One of our major components of this support is our on-site transportation service for individuals with mobility challenges or those who need help moving between festival areas. We also provide a chill tent, a comfortable space where attendees can take a break from the crowds, reduce sensory overload, or rest. We continue to strengthen our accessibility efforts each year, reflecting our commitment to ensuring our festival is inclusive, welcoming, and accessible for people of all abilities. Another part of our accessibility work is making sure that our festival is financially accessible to everyone in our community, offering free shows in the week leading up to the festival through our Tuned Up series and kickoff concert, which continues to be one of the most effective ways we can reduce barriers and open our events to all. These free performances give families, youth, seniors, and individuals who may not have the means to buy tickets the chance to enjoy high quality music and feel included in the festival experience. We also were able to partner with BCLC to provide 90 festival tickets to community organizations, offering the opportunity to experience the festival. Organizations included Shuswap Hospice, You Grow Girl, Shuswap Children's Association, CMHA, Shuswap Revelstoke, Launch Youth Program, and the Sunnybrae Senior Society.
And just some numbers for you guys. So some of what we attempt to track is the economic impact and the tourism impact of the Roots and Blues Festival. So some numbers up there for you guys: approximately 28,800 festival and festival week attendees, with our visitor reach being 70% of ticket purchasers to the festival are outside of the Salmon Arm area. So we're bringing a lot of folks in to enjoy the music as well as supporting our community. What is not up there on the stage is also acknowledging the 3,000 plus campers that we put in our over 625 camping spots, which is an integral part of the festival and how we keep it running and how we help welcome people. We know that hotel space, other campgrounds, they fill up and they get limited, so trying to keep the folks coming. Our music lineup of over 79 performances featuring over 40 artists, 5 festival stages with 2 downtown stages, and 7 days of music, concluding with the final 3 days right there on the festival site. And there are some of our Facebook, Instagram, YouTube newsletter list numbers. So just expanding the reach of the Roots and Blues and the Folk Music Society as much as we can. And for the next one, the economic impact. So obviously the festival has a big impact for production companies, our supplier companies. Takes a lot of folks, over 15 production supplier companies and 71 sponsor and community partners, of which we could not put on the festival without their support. Economic impact being that we have 7 year-round staff with 10 to 15 seasonal staff, and then over 700 volunteers. But we really like to highlight that we're very proud that the Folk Music Society is able to have year-round staff and to keep that a sustainable venture.
The 33rd Annual Roots and Blues Festival was a huge success. There was a real sense of connection, joy, and community throughout the festival. The energy felt magical, with people of all ages coming together to share music, experiences, and moments that make this festival such a special part of our community's culture.
And here's our final slide. And just a big thank you to Mayor and Council for your ongoing support. We really look forward to seeing you, of course, next year at the 34th Annual Roots and Blues Festival. So honored and privileged to be able to continue to put on this festival for that many years. It's a wonderful, and a little plug that our early bird tickets are going on sale on December 4th. So we're very pleased that we are for sure going ahead in 2026. And thank you all.
Great. Thank you very much, Tony and Althea, and thank you for sharing and summarizing for us. I'm going to open up to councillors to see if they have any questions, any comments that you'd like to make, Council. Councillor Flynn.
Thank you. Regular attendee, regularly have a full house for the weekend or before the weekend. And I do want to say that the events at Song Sparrow Hall, I recently attended the Grapes of Wrath acoustic show. Been to a number of those events. I really enjoy the fact that you're reaching out year round and making a difference in the entertainment scene. And I agree with you, there's just about nothing better than live music. I just wanted to say the festival continues to be among the most prideful things I experience in Salmon Arm, and I really appreciate all the work done by you and the volunteers and the staff. And I will say that I have been extremely pleasantly surprised with the change to the liquor licensing. I feel it's been an extremely positive change. The staff sergeant confirms that after the festival, and I just think it makes it much more hospitable that when you come in the doors, you can walk where you want with that drink if you have a drink. And I think it's actually improved the mood. I think there's less binge drinking, less rush for people to finish their tickets, and I think it's been extremely positive. So been in the town for 30 years, probably been to about 25 to 28 of the Roots and Blues, and it's a highlight of my year, and I think it's a highlight of the community's year in a lot of ways. So thank you for what you do. And Burton Cummings was amazing, but that tells you how old I am.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Flynn. Any other councillor wish to make any comment at this time? Councillor Lavery, yes, please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Harrison, and thanks, Tony and Althea. These are very general questions based on page 40 of our agenda, page 5, I think, of the report from the Folk Music Society. And my question, so we've got a snapshot of 2024. It's as current as can be. Salmon Arm has only got their 24 financials up at this stage, so no criticism there. But I'm wondering what 2025 is shaping up for. I'm not looking for numbers, but just sort of a relative comparison to what we see on page 40 of the agenda about revenue and expenses.
Althea, could you comment?
Yeah, I certainly can. Yes, our year end is October 31st. So we are still putting together those that year end financials for 2025. My understanding is that it is looking very similar. So we had similar attendance number, similar costs and revenues. So I realize that's a kind of a general answer back, but we're actually very pleased that we're thinking it's very similar. We're definitely landing in the black, so a nice balanced budget. Again, which we're very excited about. It's an ongoing changing environment as far as grant funding and sponsorship funding. So we're very pleased to say that we're in the black and being able to fund our 34th annual.
Councillor Lavery, do you have any follow-up?
Yeah, no, thanks for that response. And I think it was a general question and a perfectly good response to that. And I understand the dynamics and the volatility of grant funding. So I appreciate that. And perhaps a comment on looking ahead at 2026 challenges about revenue and expenses as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the biggest challenges for us is the ongoing changing arts grant funding and the uncertainty around that. So that's at the provincial and federal levels. We obviously are a nonprofit society and rely on those grants. However, the way we are set up, we are able to fund our next festival with the monies that we've made from this festival. So we're confident in the 34th annual, but again, it's an ongoing change. We're lucky enough to have really great leaders in David and Kevin who are always looking for new funding sources that way.
Thanks so much. Onward, and I get it's 1 year at a time, but what an organization behind putting on this. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lavery. Any other comments from councillors? Okay, maybe I'll just make my own then. Thank you very much, both of you. And Councillor Flynn, I think, did a pretty good job of summarizing, most of the community's feeling about your event. And the 34th annual coming up is, that's significant to carry a big event like this. And we know that music festivals throughout the province are working hard to try to stay alive. And so congratulations on your successes. I've certainly seen a change in collaboration and mood over the past decade. And you talked a lot about the Tuned Up series and the sharing with the downtown and the free opportunities for residents. I think that's so important, and you do that very well. It really makes the community feel like they're a part of it. And so thank you for that piece. And of course, the camping piece, I think one of the highlights of this festival is you can walk to the music and then walk back to your campsite. And I think that is part of what makes it very viable. I do just want to drill down a little bit into what Councillor Lavery was talking about, because I want to make sure I understand the 2024 financials. Yeah, right there. Hang on. No, you were there before. Page is that now? I'm on page 39 of 309, which is page 5 of their agenda. Yeah, sorry, you're heading the right way. If we can go down to the bottom there. There we go. So I'm not an accountant, but the way I read it is the 2024 year, which ended last October, was in the red, $267,000, $267,298. So am I reading that correctly?
I feel like you are, but that doesn't sound correct to me. So unfortunately, I don't have more information for you at this point.
No problem. What this says is that the revenues were $2.178 million, and expenses 2.446 million, for a deficit 267, which is what I had understood previously. And although it sounds like not good news, I think there was a number of factors there, because we were coming off Blue Rodeo's performance on Friday night in August, which was the last piece of the 2023 festival. And of course, Sarah McLaughlin was going to be playing on Sunday. And kudos to her, she came back in 2024, and the dates were shifted to August or to July, which I think was a very prudent and a very bold move on your part. And so what I understand from 2025, Althea, as you had said, was that people are back in the groove. I mean, it was a bit of a risk to come in 2024 to buy your tickets in advance. And I think people now are feeling, hey, this is continuing, and it's in July. It's a good opportunity. So I understand the 2025 numbers are in the black, which is good. Yes. So looking forward to 2026, and we'll certainly get our early bird tickets, because we know that We know no matter what, when we buy early bird tickets, there's good performers. Like we don't have to wait to hear who they're going to be. We know they're going to be good. So thank you so much for your work. Really appreciate it. And please pass on to all of your staff and volunteers our appreciation here.
Absolutely, we definitely will. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Now our second presentation, I think Councillor Wallace Richmond is going to just exit off for this one. Salmon Arm Economic Development Society, MRDT update and Salmon Arm tourism. And we have Kate Watson and we have Jenna with us. Welcome, great to have you here. We appreciate you taking the time. So please, please jump right in, go ahead.
First off, thank you very much for your time and consideration around first the 2026 MRDT tactical plan. So that's where we're starting. So we'll just sort of the agenda through the tactical plan is we'll talk about the plan, the process and the format of how this is produced. We'll do a little bit of data review, and then Jenna's going to get into the tactics categories for 2026, and we'll finalize with the budget.
Sounds great.
We're just waiting for it to move forward. I'll continue speaking. So this has been my first experience going through the tactical plan process, and it's been extremely interesting. I'll just note that. So for the development of the MRDT tactical plan, we take into consideration some guiding documents and data. The 5-year MRDT strategic plan is taken into consideration along with the 2-year visitor attraction strategy. Insights and data from national, provincial, regional, and at our local level. And this information guides the process of creating our plan for the year ahead. So sharing some of the insights that we found to produce this document. From Destination Canada, so a national overview, Canadian tourism, the sector has delivered a record-breaking performance in summer of 2025, generating nearly $60 billion in revenue between May and August alone. Canada saw a 6% year-over-year increase and a clear signal of the sector's national strength and resiliency. Just some key highlights that are interesting. So we saw 59 billion total tourism revenue, and 44.4 billion of that was from Canadians. International visitor spending was up by 10%, and this signals a higher value tourism or travel experience. Domestic tourism spending grew by 7%. Canada was exploring Canada, so the provinces were exploring each other, which is very exciting and good news for us. And hotel occupancy reached 80.7% in August. That's the highest since 2014. So tourism is alive and well in Canada. When we bring it down into the provincial level, some highlights from the annual Destination British Columbia event. BC just went through a rebrand. So their new campaign is Let the Outside In. This carries the message that we bring people and nature closer together. So British Columbia is connecting to the outdoors and their connection to the outdoors. This is great for us because we have a lot of the outdoors to explore and to offer. The iconic strategy, so in 2024, they launched the Rainforest to Rockies, that's Vancouver coast to the Thompson Okanagan, and then the Great Wilderness route, which was northern BC. And as of June 4th of this year, they launched the Okanagan Valleys to Vineyards, which is what we are included in. Sustainability, inclusion, and Indigenous reconciliation are priorities. So these key themes were embedded in every session of their main event and will be central to future tourism grants, funding, and development initiatives to foster responsible community-focused tourism. Culinary tourism is on the rise, great for Salmon Arm. The investigative eater is an emerging traveler segment seeking authentic, sustainable, and locally inspired food experiences. And you might have seen this in our Taste the Local Life campaign that's just been wrapping up. Culinary tourism is also on the rise. I already said that. Hands-on, sustainable food experience is also in demand. So travelers are increasingly seeking experiences that connect them to local and Indigenous food traditions, requiring strong industry collaboration and storytelling. Sustainable tourism must align with community values. So success in sustainable tourism depends on integrating initiatives that benefit both the visitor and the residents while reflecting local priorities. And the last, but certainly not least, marketing through emotional storytelling. So understanding why people travel rather than just targeting specific demographics. And this helps create more compelling value-driven marketing campaigns. So something we're definitely looking into. When we bring it into the regional sort of level, so our regional trends are strong. TOTA, which is the Thompson Okanagan Tourism Association, in 2025, their year-to-date snapshot reports tourism employment is up by 23%, visitation is up by 1.8%, and international overnight stays are up by 37%, offsetting a small dip in domestic travel. Accommodation performance also strengthened with occupancies up by 3.3%. RevPAR, which is revenue per average room, available room, is up 10.7%, and MRDT revenues as a whole are up by 7.5%. When we bring it right down into Salmon Arm, some information that we gathered through the Value of Tourism study. So tourism remains central to Salmon Arm's economy, with visitors spending an estimated of $398 million alone in 2024. And that's nearly $500 million, including indirect spending. And that supports over 3,000 local jobs. So Salmon Arm continues to see consistent growth in annual accommodation revenue each year, and 2025 is no exception. Drilling into some data, this chart will show you our year over year of MRTT revenues. So with the exception of the pandemic in 2020, you can see that we're on a steady incline year over year. I just want to make a note that 2025, we've included a 1% increase, but at the time of creating this report, we only have data up until July. And so we do have to predict 40% of what our revenue will be. We do a very conservative approach in case there is any sort of travel disruptions, a pandemic, road closures, et cetera, that we can't forecast for. So in your next report next year, you might see that that number is a bit larger, but we, again, take the conservative approach. This next slide, we compare 3-year trends in Salmon Arm's hotel occupancy rates. So in 2025, this we represented the highest occupancy year in the months of March, April, June, July, and August. This is consistent with other data analysis, and Salmon Arm has a very strong spring and summer season, something we've been working on. So essentially, we're sort of pulling that string on the peaks and valleys that we traditionally saw more of, where that summer was at high peak, and then the valleys were obviously the off season. And we're starting to pull that out and see growth in those shoulder season months, which is exactly what we wanted from this program. When we compare this Salmon Arm's occupancy rates externally, we look both at the region and the province. Salmon Arm's occupancy trends are generally following the same seasonal uptick and downturn modelings of the region and the province. Salmon Arm's occupancy rates are outperforming the South Okanagan region every month, apart from February, which was a bit of an anomaly for us. And then North Okanagan and the provincial occupancy rates exceed Salmon Arm's in every month apart from April, which is contributing to that strong spring we're having in Salmon Arm now, where we were actually higher than North Okanagan, which is a good sign. There we go. When we look at our average daily rates, ADR, so they're consistent with the MRDT revenue growth and occupancy rate growth. 2025 represented the highest ADR year in every month except September, which reflects growing demand, which is wonderful. Obviously, there is no data on the latter part for 2025 because we don't have it yet. When we compare this again externally to the province and our region, Salmon Arm's ADR is lower than provincial and North Thompson Okanagan regions. The ADRs like earlier in the year. However, we begin to outpace the North Thompson Okanagan in the spring. And again, it's a reflection of a strong spring and increased demand realized during this time. It's also noted that South Okanagan has a wide swing in monthly ADR. So this is representing their strong seasonality, which we're getting away from with that pulling of the string. I'm going to allow Jenna now to go into tactics. Leave that there for you.
All right. I just want to start quickly by saying thank you for having us as well, and noting in any of the campaigns and tactics that we really pull our traveler segments and campaign focuses. They're grounded in research and data shared by Destination British Columbia, Destination Canada, and TODA. These organizations provide insight into traveler behavior, motivations, and seasonality, helping us tailor Salmon Arm Tourism's marketing to the audiences most likely to visit, stay longer, and spend more. So we have 4 specific categories, big buckets that we pull from. Visitor services, this is some of our resources like our visitor guide that's in process we will talk about shortly. Our tear sheet maps that we have out at accommodators and that get given out with events. And then our digital visitor kiosks around town and in future will be tablets as well. Under our meetings, conventions, events, and sports category, we have our event hosting resource and assets. So this is our MRDT event grant fund, our Salmon Arm Green event fund, and event marketing categories. Our biggest bucket is category 3, which is our marketing. And this is everything that Salmon Arm Tourism is as a bucket as a whole that is pulled out. This is digital marketing campaigns, print marketing campaigns, image and asset development, attraction campaigns, consortiums, and signage. And then category 4, we've got destination and product experience development. A lot of our data comes out of this, placemaking, and then our industry readiness tourism business support fund as well. Our first campaign of 2026 is called Ski the Triangle, Stay in Salmon Arm. We begin each year with our winter anchor campaign, and this positions Salmon Arm as the ultimate winter base camp, centrally located among BC's leading ski resorts and offering affordable, welcoming accommodations for every traveler type. Key messaging highlights here are staying central while skiing big. Visitors can explore multiple ski hills from one convenient home base. We also showcase snowmobiling, snowshoeing, cross-country skiing, and cozy winter experiences right in our city. Our target audience here ranges from families and couples to adventure seekers and winter sport enthusiasts. Our creative direction here balances excitement with comfort, frost, warm light, and inviting winter textures. Our next campaign is Trail Your Way. This runs from April 1st to June 30th. This one, as our snow melts and our season opens, we launch our spring campaign, Trail Your Way. This showcases Salmon Arm as a trailblazer's paradise with outdoor, cultural, and culinary trails for every explorer. Messaging highlights hiking, biking, birding, art walks, and food-focused experiences. The theme, where trails lead to connections, reinforces meaningful connections with nature and community. The target audiences here include outdoor adventurers, leisure travelers, and cultural explorers. Creatively, we highlight motion, energy, and the joy of exploring the outdoors with friends and family. Our third campaign of 26 is Host Your Shine Here. This runs from June 15th to September 15th. In summer, we start to shift our event campaign. This positions Salmon Arm as a premier event hosting hub for sports festivals, reunions, retreats, and corporate gatherings. We highlight the city's strategic Trans-Canada Highway location, proximity to airports, and diverse indoor-outdoor venues. We highlight the welcoming spirit and volunteer strength that makes Salmon Arm stand out to planners. And our target audience here includes event organizers across BC, Alberta, and the Pacific Northwest. Creatively, the campaign showcases celebration, teamwork, community, and the energy of gathering.
Our third campaign for 2026 is Sip, Savor, and Explore. This runs from September 15th to November 30th. We are going to transition into our culinary and wine campaign, which positions Salmon Arm as a must-stop destination for wine enthusiasts and leisure travelers. Messaging highlights Golden Vineyard Light, warm textures, joy, relaxed experiences. Target audience here includes culinary tourists, couples, wine lovers, and leisure travelers. The creative direction focuses on close-up wine visuals, rustic tablescapes, farm to table, and moments of connection. And as we end in November, we're also going to loop back around with our Ski Triangle campaign. So we have a beginning of the year and end of the year ski season that we can highlight. I'm just going to turn it back over to Kate to go over the budget. All right. All right, so the budget is created from sort of three sources of income, but really only two. One being the general MRDT revenue, and then the other being from our local government contribution. We also have carry forward funds. This is not a given, obviously. This is just something that if we do have carry forward funds, they do roll in to the year. So our budget ends up at $609,098. For expenses, our projected expenses, we go into the high level for categories. So we have marketing coming in at $369,494. We have our visitor services. We have our destination and product experience management. So these are those buckets that we saw originally coming in at the $17,050. Visitor services coming in at $18,500. Meetings, conventions, events, and sports coming in at $131,500. And lastly, administration coming in at $72,555, creating a balanced budget of $609,099. That is the tactical plan at a high level, and we're open for any questions that you would like to ask.
Great. Thank you very much, Kate, and thank you, Jenna. Councillors, I'll open it up to you for comments, questions you might have. Councillor Flynn.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you for your presentation. It's the second time I've seen it in the last 10 days, so I had it memorized and was ready, but I do have a couple comments if I could. First of all, there's absolutely no question in my mind that the decisions made by council with the help of our CAO and some councillors to do our own destination marketing are the right ones. I think your presentation clearly illustrates that. And I think to me, the piece that the revenue being spent or the money being spent on expenses to do that destination marketing has very little taxpayers' dollars in it. And probably almost half of what we were spending in the past. So thank you for that. I did want to go back to the slide on occupancy rate if I could quickly. I didn't know if we should interrupt while we were doing them, but if somebody, the ones with bluey, green, and orange, and
The provincial.
actually the Salmon Arm accommodations occupancy rate. I think it's an opportunity to highlight the 9th month, as far as I understand, is September.
Yeah.
And I think it's an opportunity to highlight the fact that MRDT, from the time we started collecting it, there was a focus on shoulder seasons and events. And I think September is a perfect example of the difference events in shoulder season can make. And again, thanks to all that were involved in the 55 plus games, but there's no question that September may be hard to beat ever in the future because of that event, unless we have another event. But that just shows event marketing and the difference it can make in a shoulder month. So I just wanted to highlight that because, as people may or may not know, people that apply for MRDT funds get more support if it's shoulder season. And I think that's the first time I've heard that, pulling the string to flatten out the visitors. So that's my first comment. The second one I had was the ski the triangle, brilliant idea. I'm not sure who might have mentioned it at any point in the past, but are you getting any support from the ski hills on that concept? Because you talked about average rates, and our average rates are less than Kelowna, Vernon, so people can stay here for less, and probably much less than Revelstoke, but can go to any one of 4 ski hills within 2 hours. Are we getting support from the ski hills? Are you putting together any kind of package for the different hills?
Yes.
I'll let Jenna take it.
Yeah, so we're in early days of doing that. We've just finished kind of planning our budget around each of these things and then allocating how much goes to a contest and a giveaway and all that kind of stuff. So I've had some preliminary discussions with 2 of the ski resorts so far. And then we're also hoping to loop in other local businesses like Skookum as part of our kind of giveaway aspect. So nothing concrete yet, but everyone is interested.
Okay.
It's easy promotion for them with money that they don't have to spend.
Yeah, I've always felt this location, to drive an hour and 20 to be on Revelstoke Hill, an hour I can get to Silver Star. You're an hour 45 to Sun Peaks, and probably about the same to Big White. To have 4 international ski hills that close makes a huge difference, and I hope we can get that to work for that season. With regards to our new marketing and destination marketing, once people get here, is there any thought to do any advertising on the Sicamous Ferry next summer because of how many people actually use that and get them to come to Salmon Arm as an organization? Is that being looked at?
You know, I don't think we'd actually talked about it, but the Trail Your Way campaign could be a really great opportunity to partner with Sigma's. We've developed a really strong working relationship with Sigma's and partner on different initiatives, consortiums. And so we're always in contact. So I appreciate the feedback there.
I think the one day we took that with a bunch of people that we organized was the busiest day of the year for the ferry. And I think the numbers there may be an opportunity to market Salmon Arm on that ferry, or make sure that tourist businesses know, because a lot of people don't think of that trail benefiting us, but it's going to hugely benefit
It
us.
all does.
So,
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's all I wanted. I wanted to thank you and thank our representatives, the CAO, and our counselors and Sapphire for the work that you're all doing together. And I do believe our MRDT is one of the most well-run in the province. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Councillor Flynn. Councillor Cannon.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. It's exciting to look at all the ideas that you guys have here. I had a couple questions. One was, so MRDT funds, those are only available for off-season, so September on, right?
Yeah.
What is
September to June.
September to June. That's what I thought. And then the other thing that I thought would be interesting to see is, because we're in year what with our MRDT?
It was in 2017.
First full year was 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would, I mean, that's, you know, quite a ways out, but, or backwards, to look at kind of the occupancy rates that we were seeing on the off seasons, even though it was,
We have charts that go back that far.
yeah, I think that would be good to see visually, you know, even though it's 2017, but just to see the gradual increase when MRDT came in and those initiatives. And I totally agree with Councillor Flynn, which doesn't happen all the time, but that a triangle, you know, to really market the triangle for the skiing would be good. I think something that we could maybe look at, because it was in your presentation, was our closeness to an international airport. Would we be able to market some kind of transportation to get people from the airport to this area? I know that Revi and I think Silver Star too, they have transportation available that people can get up in the hill to the hill from here. So maybe that's something that we could connect the dots and maybe look at transportation from the airport getting people here for accommodations.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's been looked at. Has it been looked at?
I don't believe that we've looked at that, but we just heard a presentation from Golden around transportation, getting people from the city to the hill. I don't know if you
heard
were
that
there.
same
Yeah,
one, yeah.
really interesting. And so, and Jenna's got a great relationship with Tourism Golden. So I'm sure that that's something we've been talking about transportation quite a bit, and how do we improve that?
Yeah. And I would have to say that I really feel, grateful that we decided to take the leap to really look at the numbers of what we're doing with MRDT and salmon arm tourism coming out of, what we were where we were a few years ago. And I don't have any regrets because this looks great. That when you see what the money's being spent on, I think it makes it worthwhile going that route for me anyways. Thank you for all your work, you guys.
Thank you, Councillor Cannon. Thank you for your comments. Councillor Lavery, please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Harrison, and thanks, Kate and Jennifer. I always look forward to these presentations. It gives a good baseline for the previous year and what to expect going forward. So thanks for that. One quick comment. I noticed the transportation to the ski hills, and I don't know so much about Big White and Vernon, but I believe Revelstoke, they actually allocate money from their PILT funding, which comes from the hydro stuff, to subsidize that. At least that's the way it was previously. So that was a source of revenue that other jurisdictions don't usually have access to, but I think it's something worth looking at. My questions, maybe if I could focus on page 68, which is the budget for the one-year tactical plan.
Yeah.
Staff could get to that spot.
Oh, I think we only have the high level here, but I can pull that up.
Okay, not to worry.
Unless
I can speak to it.
I've got my copy though, if there's anything you want to discuss.
Okay. So in general, it has to do with the MRDT funding. The currently, again, this goes to the accommodators. They make the decisions about that. Yeah, right there. And it shows the general MRDT $350,000. I appreciate the conservative estimate for going forward, but we've seen each year increases. And it's at 2%. Now, my understanding, and I could be wrong either, Kate, through you or to staff, is that the current 5-year agreement, which needs reapplying, is that at the start of 2027?
Yes.
Okay. So it's not, my questions have to do with the MRDT and the MRDT rate. I don't need an answer here right now, but the renewal process is about to begin in 2026. And there's been, I think, fairly consistent commentary from council that we would like to see the MRDT go up to 3%, which an increasing number of immediate local jurisdictions are doing. It is a little more onerous, but it also results in a pretty significant increase in the return, even though there's some extra expenses with that. So my question is, and it doesn't have to be answered today, but is it possible to get back to council about the amenability of the MRDT accommodators to go up to 3%? And what would be a timeline for those discussions? Because 2026 is the time for it to happen.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's been a discussion for quite some time around our table. So a couple of things to note is in the spring of 2026, we'll start engagement sessions around the new 5-year MRDT strategic plan. So those conversations will start, and I would presume we would be also bringing forward that increase to accommodators and trying to have that conversation. It's important to remember, which you outlined, there is some downside to the 3%, just with some extra admin and costs, but Salmon Arm would receive a 0.5% of that, and the other 0.5% goes to the province. So we do see some benefit, of course, to that. And so we would have to start those conversations when we start engagement sessions.
Councillor Lavery,
Just to
go ahead.
follow up. Thanks for that. I think that, and again, I know this is in the bailiwick of the accommodators. And I know, and I have personally no complaints about how we proceed with we're now in the second round of the 2%. People are comfortable with it. It's up, it's functioning thanks to the good work of the MRDT committee. But my own personal lay of the land is that it's kind of like a no-brainer to go up to 3% when I talk to other jurisdictions who are at that. So I would just, Your Worship, at this stage here right now, I'll give my personal opinion on this. I think that I would strongly like to see the accommodators and the MRDT program actively pursue a 3% and meet those criteria for the next plan. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Councillor Lavery. Thank you for that input. Jenna, I think you're going to talk about DMO next, right? So why don't we go ahead with that, and we'll see if there's any questions around that piece.
Yeah, we have a whole nother presentation for you now.
Okay,
Yeah.
you have 5 minutes.
I'll go as fast as I can. I'm a fast talker. First and foremost, I would just love to point your eyes to the visuals that we have this year. We've been working really hard on our photo and video assets and building out that library and really helping reposition us. We wouldn't be anywhere in salmon arm tourism right now without the DMO working group, and so I would like to acknowledge the core team behind salmon arm tourism and the great work that you'll hear about today. This DMO working group combines expertise from economic development, MRDT administration, visitor services, and tourism marketing. This group ensures that our strategies, budgets, partnerships, and visitor-facing initiatives are aligned and coordinated. And it also gives us stronger cross-department communication, clearer accountability, and the ability to move quickly on opportunities. Simply put, this team structure is what allows us to build a unified and professional approach to tourism for salmon arm. A lot of tourism development happens behind the scenes, so I want to highlight just a few examples. We've built strong collaborations with local partners like TODA, Downtown Salmon Arm, Prestige Hotels, the Salmon Arm Fair, Roots and Blues, just to name a few. These partnerships support campaigns, content creation, and visitor opportunities that benefit the entire community. We've also partnered with major influencers who help us reach new audiences across BC and beyond. Regionally, we participate in monthly TODA roundtables, BC DMOA board meetings, and the RJ Haney Advisory Committee, ensuring salmon arm is consistently represented at industry tables. I'm completing a mentorship in December with Worth, which is Women of Recreation, Tourism, and Hospitality, and have been working with a mentor who's been in the tourism industry for 25 years with Whistler and DBC. And as of a few weeks ago, we have now opened conversations with the Okanagan Film Commission. They've reached out just for some assets, so that's a really wonderful part of that conversation. Our visibility continues to grow through kiosk installations, rink boards, and provincial tourism events and conferences. Not so much. There we go. I hope it doesn't skip ahead 5 now. We just a couple high level overviews here. This year we moved forward in a number of major projects that all point towards the same goal, strengthening salmon arm as a competitive 4-season destination. These projects include a visitor attraction strategy, photo and video content development, a new visitor guide, a new tourism website, our destination tourism video, and ongoing social and digital marketing campaigns. Each initiative is designed to drive overnight stays, support local businesses, and elevate salmon arm's position within the regional, provincial, and national tourism landscape. I'll walk through a few of these in more detail. Maybe. There we go. Our visitor attraction strategy sets direction for the tourism seminar or for tourism in Salmon Arm over a 2-year span from 2025 to 2027. So we're about a year into ours so far. The overarching goal is to shift Salmon Arm from a drive-through stop to a true 4-season destination. First, shifting highway pass-through traffic to overnight visitors through better itineraries, trip planning tools, and targeted campaigns. Second, growing shoulder seasons by promoting culinary experiences, wellness, events, and winter activities like Ski the Triangle. Third, strengthening alignment across the tourism ecosystem, MRDT marketing, and visitor services now operate together under one model. And fourth, building industry capacity with better tools, marketing opportunities, and partnership development. This strategy matches the direction that DBC and Destination Canada have provided, helping us stay aligned with provincial's funding and support. Just a couple quick snaps of some of the photography that you will see around the community in the coming year. This next one I am going to zip through because Kate spoke to it already. So we partnered with Sicamous to do a value of tourism study, about 3,800 jobs locally supported, which is truly wonderful. Our visitor guide and website. The visitor guide is in the final stage of development and on track for printing by the end of December. The MRDT committee will be providing final feedback on December 11th. We have expanded the scope to include more pages so the guide better represents the diversity of Salmon Arm's experiences. This guide forms the foundation of the new Salmon Arm tourism website, which will share the same message, tone, and visitor journey. Both products follow the MVP, which is minimum viable product strategy. Launch strong, then improve over time. Our tourism video is now also in the final editing phase. The theme, Salmon Arm, set your own pace. This reflects visitors' impressions of our welcoming and unhurried atmosphere. The first version includes May to October footage with additional seasonal footage coming in 2026. The video will support marketing, digital campaigns, social media, and industry partnerships, and also follows the same MVP strategy. Social media performance since the account transition. So we did take over this account, which was previously the visitor services account. And we have actively shifted it towards proactive destination marketing. The analytics reflect performance between March and November 20th, which is our first comprehensive data set that we have. We implemented very tourism specific content, including storytelling, reels, video, seasonal campaign, and visitor focused messaging. And we are happy to build on the solid foundation that was originally established by visitor services. So we now, as I said, have our first full data set showing substantial growth. Instagram reach 27,000 plus users. That's more than 1,100% growth. And interactions. Facebook exceeded 100,000 views, up over 721%, and LinkedIn continues to grow as a strong industry-facing platform. Overall, the strategy is working, our content is resonating, and our audience is expanding. Paid advertising and influencer campaign performance. We did a locally grown, expertly crafted campaign, which was a meta ad as well. This was a part of our Taste the Local Life campaign, which is wrapping right now. This we're quite proud of. 32,000 views, which is fantastic, and 323 landing pages. That means people are clicking on it and coming all the way through to the website. So those are great conversions for us. Fall in Love with Salmon Arm. This was a seasonal video campaign that was also run as a meta ad, so Facebook, Instagram ad, and we had over 4,200 video plays, which is great for strong engagement. The video performance demonstrated that there was high audience interest for fall experiences. Influencer marketing, so this is September and October 25. We had the Mint Cleaning Girls in town for the business forum and for a Salmon Arm tourism campaign as well. And then we also had Van Foodies, which came through for the BC Ale Trail, and Thirsty Explorers Club in March of 25. This, we had over 200 total page visits from each of these, which is great. This shows we've got a really broad reach and a strong top of funnel awareness. So we're just letting people know about us so then we can show them a few more things and hope that they convert and want to come visit. Our growth reflects a shift in mandate and strategy, and it, as I said, our first true set of benchmarks. Our DMO budget for 25, this is just a quick update of some of the initial buckets that we had. We are right on track for spending for 25, and we think we've got a lot to show for the work that's been done with the budget that we have. And that is it. So if you have any questions, Kate and I are happy to answer.
Thank you very much, Jenna. Councillors, I'm going to open it up to you for questions, comments over the DMO. Okay, maybe I'll make mine first then. First of all, it's, I don't know if refreshing is the right word, or to have the DMO presentation here and specifically talking about Salmon Arm and the things that we're doing. And I know there's all kinds of collaboration that happens between here and outside, but it seemed one of the reasons we made the decision we made was about value for money. And with a little bit more control, we can focus here and work out rather than the other way around. And I mean, the results there are quite astounding. I guess if I had to pick a team, Sapphire, Aaron, Kate, and Jenna will probably be it. You know, I don't think we can do much better. Love your enthusiasm and your knowledge. So really appreciate that. And I know that the other groups in Salmon Arm are involved as well. You know, Downtown Salmon Arm, the Chamber, Community Futures. I know that you work with all of them, and so appreciate that. Really looking forward to the visitor's guide, a visitor's guide that's focused on Salmon Arm. And so really look forward to seeing that. I know you've worked hard at it. Yeah, so thank you so much for all of your work. We know that diversity of economic sectors is the key to doing well. And so every sector is important, and tourism is one that we can really make a difference in. So appreciate your work. I will go to other councillors. I'll go to Councillor Flynn.
Thank you, and thank you for that piece of presentation, because I don't think I saw that at ECDEV. So that was all new material to me, and I kind of got ahead of the game with my enthusiasm on the other presentation. All I will say is that I too look forward to seeing the visitor guide. And I agree wholeheartedly with the mayor's comments on value for the money spent, this specifically Salmon Arm taxpayers' money. I'm going to guess that as much as we're focusing on Salmon Arm, it's Salmon Arm as the hub for Shuswap activities. And I can't wait to see how you do that. And I did want to just ask a question. Being an avid golfer and having known about the Golf Consortium forever, I understand you guys have taken that on.
Yes, we have. Yeah.
Okay. So that's awesome. I think that's a very valuable piece. It's kind of the ski triangle for the summer, and we have amazing golf courses in the area. And I think that that piece needs to be reinvigorated and redone. And I'm glad that you guys are doing it, because I know you'll do it well. So I echo the mayor's comments. What a great team. And again, I'll thank my fellow councillors who were part of working with staff on this as well. I believe it's the way to go. I believe we can measure our deliverables much better, and we can reach out or make sure people know where they can go in the Shuswap when they're in Salmon Arm. So thank you.
Great, thank you, Councillor Flynn. I don't see any further questions, so thank you so much. Thank you for coming and sharing with us. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for your time. Thanks for having us.
All right, we'll invite Councillor Wallace Richmond back, and when I see her up here, we will continue with our agenda. Welcome back, Councillor Wallace Richmond. We will continue with our agenda. We're on tab 9, which is staff reports. And the first one is our Deputy Corporate Officer with Putafont Salmon Folk Music Society funding agreement. There is a motion for consideration, so I'd like to get that onto the floor if I could. If there's a mover and a seconder. Councillor Cannon will move. Councillor Lavery will second. Thank you very much. Ms. Putafont, please go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Salmon Arm Folk Music Society hosts the annual Roots and Blues Festival, and the city has been a funding partner for the festival for a number of years. Additionally, the city has traditionally provided support to the society by endorsing the society's various grant applications. In the 2025 budget process, the amount of $54,000 contribution was approved, and council at that time requested that staff negotiate a multi-year funding agreement to provide financial stability to both the society and the city. After discussions with the society, staff are recommending a 3-year funding agreement with BC Consumer Price Index increases, as is typical of many of our agreements. Staff are available if council has any questions.
Thank you very much for that summary. Councillors, I'll open it up to you if there's any questions, any comments you wish to make. It seems very timely as we had our presentation today. So I don't see any questions or comments. I will call a question. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you to staff for working through that with us. We will go to 9.2, District of Planning and Community Services, Special Event Liquor License for the Yuletide Village. There is a proposed motion. If I could have a second mover and seconder, Councillor Wallace Richmond will move, Councillor Flynn will second. Thank you, and I'll pass it to Director of Planning and Community Services, Mr. Buxton. Thank you.
Thank you, Worship, members of council. As noted, the application or request for a letter of support here for the liquor license is for the beverage or beer garden that would be located on the 200 block of Alexander Street Northeast. The dates being the 29th and 30th of November, the first in the afternoon and evening, the second just into the early parts of the afternoon. It would accommodate about 500 people. It's restricted access operated by Ricochet Brewing and Tap House. Pedestrian access would remain around. It's very similar to the Roots and Blues patio that council was familiar with from July of this year. So they've made the liquor license application. What's being requested here is simply a letter of support that we did for the Roots and Blues Festival that the Director of Engineering and Public Works could execute on the city's behalf.
Thank you very much for that detail. I'll open it up to comments from council. Councillor Flynn, please go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. I will vote in favor of this motion, and I just wanted to confirm that on the Saturday, some of us are participating in the, I don't know if it's called the Christmas, the Yuletide Parade or the Santa Parade. What time is that at? Because that ties into this, I believe.
It's at 4:30 on Saturday evening. Yes, it does tie in perfectly.
And the light up is after the parade?
It's actually during the parade.
Okay.
Santa Claus gets to do that part.
Okay.
So we are starting the parade 4:30 at Marine Park, coming through the Ross Street underpass, down Ross to Hudson, right on Hudson, all the way up Hudson, right on Shuswap, and then right on Lakeshore. And when Santa gets to this Christmas tree, he's going to light it up.
Okay. Okay, well, I look forward to that, and I'm not sure if I'm hoping for the weather to stay like it is or get some snow so the ski hills can open, but I look forward to that event, and I very much support this motion.
Great, thank you. Any other comments from council? I'll just make my comment. Appreciate Downtown Salmon Arms' work on this event, and I understand the event at Cahoots, which Mr. Buxton spoke about in the summertime, which is similar, was extremely successful. So nice to have this option for those who wish it. I will also support. I see no other discussion, so I'll call a motion. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you. We'll now go to 9.3, Director of Planning Community Services, Marionette Winery Special Event Area Liquor License Application. Again, there is a motion for consideration. If there is a mover and a seconder, we can get on the floor. Councillor Wallace Richmond would move. Councillor Cannon would second. I'll pass it over to Mr. Buxton.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. Another liquor license issue. This time a formal referral directly to the city from the LCRB for a liquor license, an amended liquor license at Marionette Winery. So the winery already has a liquor license for the existing operation, so there are no issues with use. So the application seeks to expand liquor service to a new building on the property, about 75 square meters of internal service area, an open barn area of about 1,000 square feet or 93 square meters, and a fenced outdoor service area. As you can see, the structure is already constructed. The service area would be used for special events between 11 and 11 at 11 a.m. and 11 at night, April to October, particularly for special events. It is located within the ALR, so that the applicant may have to deal with those issues as well. We'll see about whether or not those applications are submitted to the city. Just noted that the building has already been constructed. We didn't get a building permit, but that's not unusual in agricultural areas because you're not required to get a building permit for a farm building. They will, however, have to get a building permit to move from a low human occupancy to an assembly occupancy. So the applicant's already been notified of that process, and they won't be able to commence service until they've got that occupancy permit for the building. So we don't see any particular issues. I say the winery's had a liquor license in place for a number of years. We've never had any issues with it as far as I'm aware. So the recommendation is that we indicate we have no objection and that we opt out of the public comment and consultation process. That's a bit of an acknowledgement to the LCRB that they'll run their own. We're not going to run the public consultation process for them. They have to do their own through their notification process.
Great, thank you, Mr. Buxton. I will open up the councillors for any questions or comments. Councillor Flynn.
Thank you, Worship. I support the motion in principle. I'm just wondering if it needs any comment about ALC approval. Through you, Your Worship, I feel like we have no objection. We don't approve it, but should we be making sure they understand kind of first of all, the piece on the building to change these? Do we need to say any of that?
Mr. Buxton, could we just get your thoughts on that?
Through the chair, in my opinion, with respect to the building permit, no, we will deal with that issue as a building code issue. With respect to the ALC, if there are requirements, they will be required to go through them. So.
Okay, then I'm comfortable with it as worded.
Councillor Flynn, thank you. Councillor Cannon.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was just curious. You said they didn't need a building permit because it's a outbuilding on farmland, but was that an existing building or was that building built in the last like 5 years? Or
Mr. Buxton,
it looks to me, I'm familiar with the property, that might have been a building that's been there, always been there.
Mr. Buxton?
Through the chair, I don't have a date on which that building was constructed. I believe it's fairly recent.
Okay.
Within the last 2 or 3 years would be I don't recollect seeing it the first time I was there, which was 2 years ago.
Okay. I was just curious. I don't have any. I think they should be able to get that. So hopefully it works for them, and dealing with the ALC won't tie it up.
Thank you, Councillor Cannon. Is there any other questions or comments? Could I just ask, so if council decides to opt out of the comment and public consultation process, you said then that the liquor control branch would do the public consultation process. Can you explain that to me?
Through the chair, to the best of my understanding, it requires the LCRB will require that the property be posted, and I believe notifying the neighbours.
Okay, and then if people had comments, they would make it to the LCRB.
That is correct, yes.
Okay. The reason I asked the question is I think probably prior to you being here, Mr. Buxton, we did receive a couple of letters of concern, councillors may remember them, regarding the first time that they applied for liquor use on the site. And so want to make sure that there is a process for people to follow. So that's one of the pieces. The other piece, I want to make sure that we're not setting ourselves up. We did deal with a situation in South Canoe where all of council is familiar with that situation. It was a farm building not designed for having people in it. And then there was a limited number of events. In this particular instance, would there be a limited number of events that would be permitted between those dates because it's in the ALC?
Through the chair. To the best of our understanding, because they are a bona fide producer at that location, they are able to vend their products through an associated liquor license. So we don't believe that issue plays out here.
Okay, because it's a winery and they use their own product.
Well, that is correct, yes. That's our understanding.
Okay, all right. Any other questions from councillors? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Councillor Flynn, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I had written down all my conflicts and declared them, but I completely overlooked. It's not even on where I wrote down this one because Foresight Consultants, I have declared conflict on this for about 5 to 8 years since we've started these discussions. So I will step out.
Okay, thank you for catching that, Councillor Flynn. Appreciate it. Councillor, we'll just know Councillor Flynn's stepping out for this one. So item 9.4 is Community Wildfire Resiliency Plan Contract Award. Our Deputy Fire Chief is here with us. If we could have a motion, mover and a seconder. Councillor Lowry will move it. Councillor Wallace Richmond will second. Thank you for that. Deputy Chief Guido, nice to see you. Welcome.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. As part of our 2025 Fire Smart grant, we applied for and were successful in getting funding to update our 2020 Community Wildfire Preparedness Plan into the new required CWRP, which is the Community Wildfire Resiliency Plan. Our existing CWPP has been successfully used to provide direction for our Fire Smart education and fuel mitigation activities, but it's nearing the end of its lifespan. UBCM, Union of BC Municipalities, has now mandated a CWRP to replace it as part of the grant funding. 3 companies submitted proposals and all 3 were very similar. All used the allowable grant funding of $35,000 and all 3 followed the UBCM CRI Fire Smart grant template for development. After careful analysis, staff felt the proposal from Foresight Consultants should be selected. It has all the required components, including a large consultation component, which Council has previously indicated strong support for. This is a truly important part of the CWRP, as the plan sets direction for the program for the next number of years. Foresight was the only local company that submitted a proposal. In addition to providing local jobs, they will be well suited to listen to our local communities, First Nations, and other partners.
Great, thank you very much for that summary. Councillors, I'll open it up to you for any questions or comments you might have. Seeing none, I'll just make a brief comment. First of all, we really rely on that grant funding, of course, for fire smarting, and it's a requirement to update our plan, then certainly we need to do that. I'm totally in favor of the choice. Foresight Consultants, nice to have a local consultant who's familiar with our situation, and also the approach of hosting public open houses and updates. I think it's important to note that those open houses and consultation with the public is part of educating and letting the public know what our fire smarting plans are. And I don't want it to be misconstrued that that people could come and actually make the plan, because there has been in the past some difference of opinion on the degree of fire smarting that's necessary. So we're relying on our consultants to look at the situation and to certainly share their plans with the public. But I don't want it to be misunderstood that that we may not fire smart public properties to a degree that it would not be useful. So I just wanted to say that before we talk about this or vote on this motion. Is there any other councillor like to speak to the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, we can invite Councillor Flynn back in. We're on item 9.5, Manager of Engineering, BC Vision Zero Road Safety Grant regarding a pedestrian refuge island. This is what the grant, the suggestion for the grant be used for if we were successful. There is a motion for consideration. If I can have a mover and a seconder. Councillor Lavery has moved it and Councillor Wallace Richmond second. Thank you very much. Ms. Wilson, good afternoon. Thank you for coming to speak to us about this.
Thank you, Your Worship. The British Columbia Vision Zero program supports initiatives that will make road access more equitable for all British Columbians. We were the recipient of this grant last year, and we used it to improve the mid-block crossing at the 21st Street mid-block crossing. It can be used for infrastructure improvements, policies, and enforcement measures. And the current grant window is open and closes November 28th, 2025. The next mid-block crossing that was on our list to improve was at 30th Street and 16th Avenue Northeast. This project is the preferred candidate for this grant intake. It's located directly in front of Salmon Arm Secondary School and addresses a long-standing pedestrian safety concern at one of the community's highest demand school crossings. Vehicle operations show that demand for the existing southbound left turn lane onto 16th Avenue is not used very much. That creates an opportunity for repurposing the left turn lane for a pedestrian refuge island. That reduces the crossing distances and adds speed calming measures and increases the visibility of the pedestrians crossing there. There is a figure that's attached to the report. It's a little hard to see, but it is outlined there in white what we are proposing to do. The project is estimated to cost about $34,000, and should the grant application be successful, $20,000 of that would be covered by the grant, leaving $13,948 to be funded by the city. And as that aligns with the city's active transportation master plan, it's proposed to fund that city's portion from the active transportation reserve. And I'm here to answer any questions council may have.
Great, thank you very much for that summary. Councillors, I'll open it up to you. Any questions or comments for Ms. Wilson? Councillor Cannon.
So when I was looking at this, just so it can be explained to me. So an island is, when I look at the picture there, the map, there's the crossing, and then there's a little, can you explain what that is? Thanks.
Ms. Wilson?
It would be nice if I had a better picture for council. The easiest one to think of is just south of Tim Hortons on 30th Street. We installed a pedestrian refuge island there, I think 4 years back now. So it's a concrete island that's fairly flat. Another example is in Enderby. When you're going down 97B south, there's that concrete island where pedestrians can wait in the middle. So it allows them to look one way, cross, stand in the middle until it's safe, look the other way, and then cross. So they have a sort of that broken up time period to cross the roadway, and it shortens that distance. So they're only crossing 4 meters at a time instead of right now, 4 times 3 is 12, about 12 to 14 meters of.
So, and that little spot where they can wait when they're looking, And does it have kind of like metal rails around them? Like, are they enclosed in there when they're entering there?
This one is proposed to have railings just to guide the pedestrians so that they're facing traffic before they cross. So in the sketch that's provided, the crosswalk is sort of split. It's actually staggered in two.
Yeah.
And that way they'll be facing the direction of traffic when they're looking to cross. So this would have railings on both sides. You're not really trapped. It's just a little bit to guide them to the
Yeah, just to
appropriate crossing.
protect them from the traffic. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Cannon. Councillor Lavery.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. Thanks to staff for bringing this forward. This is another example of incremental gains, looking for grant opportunities and going through a list of opportunities to get this done. So I fully support this. Your Worship, I just note that Vision Zero is not just a grant funding operation. Although applying for the grants is what we want to do, but it's also a complete approach to safer streets for all users. In a number of months ago, the ATAC, Active Transportation Advisory Committee, had recommended that complete philosophy presentation to council. I don't need a date here now, but it would be nice if we could arrange this early in the new year to get the fuller scope of what Vision Zero means. And I do believe down the line that will bolster further applications for additional projects down the line. So great to see. Thanks, staff. And looking forward to that presentation to council.
Thank you, Councillor Lavery. Councillor Flynn.
Thank you, Worship. Councillor Cannon kind of asked my questions. I just wanted to clarify the map we have. That double left turn lane onto 16th is being removed.
Through Your Worship, yes. So there's very low traffic volumes that actually take that left turn. So they'll still be able to turn left. They just won't have a dedicated left turn lane.
I support this, even though I am probably worse than Councillor Cannon at visualizing it, but appreciate the questions. All I would comment in the future, because in my mind, these incremental active transportation pieces are really important. I think a bigger picture of the area to show, because there is walking paths around there. And I think I don't question lots of kids cross there. I don't question this will be safer. I just think a little bit bigger picture would be helpful for me. But I'm voting in full support.
Thank you, Councillor Flynn. Any other questions or comments? I'll just make my comments then. I think the work that was done at 21st with the similar grant, I mean, not only does it make it a shorter distance for those pedestrians to cross, and I use that quite regularly myself, it also does serve as a traffic calming piece. Certainly traffic slows there because it's a little narrower now. So I can see the same thing happening here. Council recalls that 16th Avenue Northeast used to be a closed street that did not flow traffic through. And now, of course, with the developments on that west side, traffic comes down through 16th, much more traffic. So we have had input from residents interested in trying to improve this particular crossing. I think it'll make it much safer for pedestrians, and it certainly will slow traffic down in that area. So I think it's a good choice. Thank you for bringing it to us. I see no other comments, so I'll call a question. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thanks, Ms. Wilson.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillors, we're at the in-camera session. There is a motion for consideration. I'll have the CAO read the motion out to see if we can get a mover and a seconder.
That pursuant to section 91C, E, and G of the Community Charter, Council move in camera.
You could have a mover and a seconder for that motion. Councillor Flynn, thank you. Councillor Wallace Richmond, second. And for members of the public who are here presently, we will reserve 1 hour for this in-camera piece. So at just after 3:30, we'll resume the public session for those who are wishing to come back in. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Thank you, Council. We'll give virtual councillors just a minute to get into the next meeting then.
Conference will now be recorded. This conference is no longer being recorded. This conference will now be recorded.
All right, we'll resume the City of Salmon Arm regular council meeting of Monday, November the 24th. I see Councillor Lavery is with us. I know Councillor Wallace Richmond is on her way. Councillor Flynn, Councillor Cannon are in the council chamber as well. I think we'll just wait for Councillor Wallace Richmond because I know Councillor Flynn needs to leave for the first item, which is under introduction of bylaws, item 11, 1 and 2. So Councillor Flynn, if you would like to.
I'll just declare my conflict now while you're waiting for.
You did it already.
Did I? I don't
Yes.
need to redo it at this point.
No.
Then I will leave.
Okay, thank you. And we're just going to wait for Councillor Wallace Richmond, and then we'll deal with that item. Welcome back, Councillor Wallace Richmond. Council, we're on item number 11, introduction of bylaws. 11.1 is a zoning amendment bylaw number 4739. It's a text amendment to the Comprehensive Development Zone CD26. We have a proposed motion. If I can get a mover and a seconder to get it on the floor, please. Councillor Cannon will move and Councillor Lavery will second. Mr. Larson, good afternoon. Thank you for coming forward to explain this to us.
Thanks, Your Worship. This application has been updated to reflect the current ownership. So just wanted to note that for council. This proposal is to rezone the subject parcel to a comprehensive development zone, CD26, to permit future commercial development. This zone represents a relatively minor variation, adding a single use to the existing C4 zone. The new zone cleans a couple of older items up, but most significantly adds the licensee retail store use to the zone to permit a liquor store. While not subject to this particular application, such development is subject to a development permit application. One has been submitted and will be before council in the near future. The subject parcel meets the conditions of the proposed zone. The Ministry of Transportation has provided preliminary approval, and as the proposal is consistent with the official community plan, it is supported by staff.
Thank you very much, Mr. Larson. And so just for council's understanding, and I'm sure they do, the first motion that we're looking at is the actual text amendment to bylaw number 4739. We'll talk about the specific property in the next motion if this one passes. Is there any discussion around the text amendment to the comprehensive development zone CD26? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. We'll now go to 11.2, and this zoning amendment bylaw 4740 applies to the property at 3091 9th Avenue Southwest. The owner is a limited BC company, Cody Himbo representative. There is a motion for consideration. If I can have a mover and a seconder. Councillor Wallace Richmond will move. Councillor Lavery will second. Mr. Larson, did you wish to add anything further? You did refer to this in your initial talk.
Thanks, Your Worship. Nothing further to add.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillors, any discussion around first and second reading for this motion on this property? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you very much. And public hearing then would be, what's the date for the public hearing on that?
Thanks, Your Worship. The date that we have is December 8th.
Great, that's what I thought. Thank you so much. 7 p.m. December 8th for those interested. We will wait for Councillor. There's Councillor Flynn. Welcome back, Councillor Flynn.
Glad to be back.
All right, so we're under reconsideration of bylaws. This is from the Director of Planning Community Services, Fisher Community Plan Bylaw 4707, one that's very familiar to Council. We have a proposed motion. If I can have a mover and a seconder to get it on the floor, please. Councillor Cannon will move. Let's take a virtual seconder if there is one. Councillor Lavery will second. Thank you very much. Director of Planning Community Services, Mr. Buxton, I noticed you don't have your OCP shirt on today.
I do not. I have missed that. I've missed that. You're correct. But I will perhaps do the shortest presentation that I possibly could on an OCP bylaw of this magnitude. Following the public hearing on November 5th, we have indeed made a number of very minor changes, 4 in total, 3 typographical on pages 56, 64, and 66, and the deletion of a policy in the hazard areas section that we think would perhaps be better addressed through a subsequent wildfire development permit area. So those are the only changes that have been made from second reading and following the public hearing. None of them I would consider consequential. With respect to the issues that did come up at the public hearing, we've chosen not to try and deal with those at this point in time. It would be a significant step back through process. So we would recommend that those be dealt with through amendments to the OCP next year once and if it is adopted by council. So given that there are essentially no substantive changes to the bylaw, we're recommending that we proceed to third reading.
Thank you very much. Thanks for that summary. Councillors, I'm going to open it up to you to any questions, comments you may wish to make. Councillor Flynn.
Thank you, Worship. And again, thank you to staff for all their work, effort, and energy. I guess the piece I'm struggling with is my understanding of the process is third reading was a chance for people to come in and speak to second reading, and then we make changes. Now I'm finding out that changes are too difficult to make, and we're going to make them on the run if people come forward and want to make amendments. I guess that's not how I understood the process. I understand dealing with provincial agencies, especially the ALC, but others, that perhaps that's the intent. But I feel like all along I've been asking, what is the process? And I thought the process between second and third was to possibly make changes or at least discuss them as they were brought forward by the community. So Your Worship, you're on that committee. Can you help me understand that?
Sure, Councillor Flynn, you can suggest any change you'd like with a motion today. And if council was to authorize that, that change would take place. But I think the rationale that's been stated by staff is around the 2 requests for removal from the ALC. And as you have read, throughout the input that we've received, both as a steering committee and passed on to council, was that the community has spoken quite clearly that the only ALC removals that they see in favor of are the ones that were in place already in the light industrial area. So that's why if there's further ALC removals that individual property owners may have, that they could certainly come forward with their particular property and council could entertain them. If council wished to make a change today, absolutely make the motion.
Okay, so the one I'm struggling with is currently in the ALC, but everything around it was taken out and approved by the ALC. And I feel like it's chicken or egg. If we don't expand our urban containment boundary around the piece, they can't even apply to the ALC and we can't even send it in. And I feel that on the map and the explanation I got before, it totally makes sense that that one piece gets brought in. It's urban containment boundary jigs just to include to not include this, or to not include it. And that is one piece that in my mind is nonsensical, doesn't make sense, except to support the ALC, and that should be the ALC's job, and our urban containment boundary should be moved in my mind. So I support everything else. I'm just confused with the process because it feels like we can't make changes at this stage.
I
So-
think I've stated quite clearly to you, Councillor Flynn, if you wish to make a motion to make a change, council could make that change.
But if
That
it
would be
has
up
to
to
go
you.
back to all the other agencies, I guess I'm trying to understand how it's easier for us to do an OCP amendment down the road than do it now.
Okay, understand. All right. Further speakers, Councillor Cannon.
Thank you, Worship. I know this is really scary because this has been 3 times in one meeting, but I totally agree with Councillor Flynn on this because it doesn't make sense to me. I thought once we had public could come and speak to us on the OCP, that those, inquiries would be taken back and possibly be considered. But it just so happened on that particular day that we had a property that was looking for permission to hook up to city services. And that is a piece that we're referring to right now in this discussion, that jigs around the urban containment boundary. And I think kind of what I was hearing through the whole OCP process is that, wait till your OCP is adopted, yada, yada, and then hope. I know it's a living document. Changes can be made, but why wouldn't we look at this when it was brought to us in council meeting, this particular property, and then we were all looking at the map, and it was, quite evident that it was jigged around this property. So I think that we should be making a motion to look at this.
Sure, the motion, Councillor Cannon, if you wish to make a motion, I think what you're suggesting is that the urban containment boundary be expanded around this particular property.
Yes.
I mean, if that's something that council wishes to entertain, then that's certainly something that they could talk about.
So the other thing further to that, if I make the motion, is does this hold up the OCP hugely and to look at this if it passes?
I could check with Mr. Buxton on that. I think that's what his report says, but let's just get clarification.
Yes, I think to be honest with you, yes, it would. We have been very clear with the community through first and second reading and up to that point in the public hearing that we weren't doing any ALC exclusions outside of those indicated at that point in time. It's a substantive change from that policy, albeit in a very small area. So, and we would, in good conscience, need to go back to talk to at least let the ALC know that we were doing it, because we were very clear about the urban containment boundary, and we had a number of discussions with them over about 6 weeks about the alignment of the urban containment boundary with the ag land reserve boundary. So I think to be fair to the community and fair to the engagement process, we would need to walk back to second reading, rehold the public hearing, and re-engage with the ALC. The engagement process to date has been very clear that we were not going to do this. So this is in my opinion, substantive change. So yes, we would. So it means we're probably doing February, March time would be adoption. If we
So
can.
the other.
Councillor Cannon, go ahead.
Yeah, the other thing that I wasn't involved in the committee that worked on the roundtables and this process. But the other thing that was brought to the meeting last week when we discussed this is that on the previous OCP, that particular area had a notation on our OCP. So was that even ever brought in the discussion of that cookie cutter around that area? Was that ever at the table of discussion?
Mr. Buxton?
To the chair, no, we never had specific conversations with the committee about any specific property.
And I think I can add to that, Councillor Cannon, probably information that's useful is that the owner of, if we're talking about a particular property, both that property and the property on the other side of Rock Bluff, which is in between Rock Bluff and Green Emerald, the owners of those two properties had no interest in taking their land out of the ALC and thus moving the urban containment boundary. The person who purchased one of those properties in September was one of the people that came to speak to us. So certainly that circumstance that's the reasoning behind where that came from.
And if I could just say that the family that had those two properties before they sold the other one owned that property like for a long, long time, correct? Like is it in history that families owned that property for
I don't know
many
that,
years?
but
Yeah.
yeah.
I just think that by us passing that at our last council meeting so that they could attach to hook up to city utilities, but yet not expand the urban containment boundary on our OCP map. Just kind of, I don't know, it doesn't sit well with me that we did that, so.
Do you want to ponder and you go on to other speakers?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, and then we can always come back. Councillor Wallace Richmond, please go ahead.
Thank you. Well, I understand Councillor Flynn and Councillor Cannon's concern. It's an official, over the years we have done OCP amendments along the way, and we will continue to do OCP amendments along the way. It's really important that we recognize that it's an official community plan, not an official individual property or exception plan or an official agricultural land commission plan. This is through, a year of work and many engagement sessions with the community. We're getting the sort of the blueprint of where we want to go towards as a city. And it doesn't negate the opportunity for other things to change, but they have to follow a proper process. I don't actually think it would be a proper process to make the change at this stage in the game, go back to second reading and start again. I don't think that's how the process should work personally. And so at this point in time, I'm prepared to give it third reading and move it on to the next part, because failing that, we are still sitting with a 2011 official community plan. I don't want a 2011 official community plan. I want a 2025 official community plan with options to change over time. So for that reason, I would really encourage my mayor and council to support what we have in front of us at this time.
Thank you, Councillor Wallace Richmond. We'll go to Councillor Lavery next, and then Councillor Flynn.
Oh, yeah, thanks, Your Worship. My thinking is very similar to Councillor Wallace Richmond's. An OCP is it's a broad vision, giving broad direction going forward, and it's not about individual parcels. And I would suggest that, or the way I see it anyhow, is that whether it's under this OCP or the next OCP, any property owner can come in front if they want to remove from the ALC. The process is the same. You now have to come to council. Council makes a decision on that particular piece about whether they support it being removed, albeit based on the official community plan. And then it's referred to the ALC, if council supports it, to make the agricultural determination. I don't see that any different from this current OCP and the one that we have in front of us here. So I think that, again, I fully support the motion here at hand. This has been great work all around, and we've mentioned it a number of times, but Your Worship, I forgot to include the steering committee work. Kudos for that and to staff. For my take, this is a document to be proud of, and I fully support the passing at this stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lavery. Councillor Flynn.
Thank you, Worship. I don't want a 2011 OCP either, but I don't want a brand new 2025 OCP that on a piece, not one piece of property, but a stretch along a road, in my mind, is nonsensical. So I have a question for staff. When we go, if one of those applicants or both of them that own those properties that the jig, for lack of a better word, in my mind, in Councillor Cannon's mind, and in others' minds, doesn't make sense. If we go to the ALC and it's not in our urban containment boundary, will they just decline it and not even look at the land? Because they've approved pieces on both sides for housing. We have been spending the last 5 years talking about housing, and we're making a decision here where it makes complete sense to have the rest of that road be housing. If the agricultural land is rock, like it probably is because everything else along there is rock. So I agree it's a living document, but if our living document says that's not within the urban containment boundary, does the ALC automatically say no?
Mr. Buxton, could you comment on that difference, urban containment boundary, ALC land?
I don't know what the ALC would do with an application. I mean, the application that council would need to deal with is, would they move the urban containment boundary? At that point in time, if the answer is yes, it moves to the ALC and they make a decision. I would suspect if at that point council says no, it's probably going to have a really tough time at the ALC. But I would be very loath to speak for the ALC and how it may render a decision on an exclusion of that nature.
Okay, so moving forward, we can move the urban containment boundary independent of the ALC.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes, we would refer that application to the ALC.
I understand that. Okay, so again, I'm disappointed. I understand the whole premise from the start that the community didn't want to remove ALC land. I think if the community had this piece presented to them as it stands, they would have supported it. That's my belief, but I may be wrong. Knowing that we can change the urban containment boundary by referring it to the ALC, I don't want to back up the process. But I also will reiterate that this is not how I understood third reading or second to third reading. I understood it input from the community. I know it was specific to a couple pieces, but I believe this piece should come out of, or the urban containment boundary should be expanded, and the agricultural land decision should be made by the agricultural land decision based on that land. And based on their decisions on the pieces around it, I don't think it's farmable, but I'm not an expert. I will support the third reading begrudgingly because I feel this piece should have been dealt with between second and third. I understand why it can't be, and it's better to do an amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Flynn. Councillor Cannon.
So my question to that is, do we have to have an application to do an urban containment boundary change? Or can council, after this is all done, I don't know, notice of motion or whatever, ask for an urban containment boundary change? Or does it have to be, brought forward by an applicant, or can we do it at this table?
Mr. Buxton?
The interesting answer to that question is it would need to be landowner derived, because that's the policy change the council made. So the owner would need to make that application.
Okay. And then if it came to this table and we changed the boundary, the urban containment boundary, that gets changed if it got changed. And then from there, the urban containment boundary is changed, and then the applicant can apply to the ALC.
Mr. Buxton? Yeah. That
So
application
you
would come
can do
through us.
one, done, and then another application to do that. Okay. I mean, I would just say that, we were trying to hammer down the date that we could have public come and speak on our OCP, but it's interesting that really timelines and how long it takes, if anything came out of that, it really wasn't possible to do anything. So that's a little frustrating, I think. But all in all, I will compliment the committee for the great work that they did and lots of meetings to get to this point.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Cannon. Councillor Wallace Richmond.
Thanks for a second opportunity. Yeah, I want to acknowledge both Councillor Flynn and Councillor Cannon's concern that issues were raised at the public hearing. I think in the OCP's case, we have to remember it's not like a typical bylaw that it only has 4 readings. The OCP has been in front of community in one way or another for about a year. There have been engagement processes. There have been silverbacks. There was a big event at Song Sparrow Hall. Unlike a public hearing where it's a one and done, there have been dozens of engagement processes. So some community members have had many opportunities to come to the OCP engagement process. And so I think it's important to sort of draw the distinction between a typical 4-reading bylaw and an OCP process, where there were dozens and dozens of touch points. And while the official community plan was part of this final piece, it was not the only, by far was it the only one. And because it's specific to certain properties, I still feel that the best option is to consider the overall plan and to move forward. And our OCPs always leave us room to change things as we move ahead as a community. So I just thought it was important to underline that part.
Thank you, Councillor Wallace Richmond. Are there any other speakers, questions, comments? Okay, maybe I'll just make mine. We had over 3,000 inputs to this official community plan, which is a real, shows how interested the community was in this process. And staff working with the steering committee took many of those inputs and tried to put the common inputs together to form our official community plan. And I think the official community plan is a build on a 2011 plan. It's a plan to densify from the core out. It's a plan to use properties that have infrastructure provided already to house in a more densely formed way people who are looking for housing. Clearly, the community spoke about protection of agricultural land, and we received some indications around the light industrial area, but also had many who felt that we need further industrial lands, and that is a good spot. And council chose to, instead of generally apply that industrial zone to all those lands, to leave it with owners on those lands to come forward and apply. And about 50% of them, so to date, have done that. And so that piece remains in the plan. There's so much more, but really the core pieces, the water, sewer, storm pieces came through very clearly from residents about the value and the priority of those items. So it is a living document for sure. And I think the fact that there was only 5 speakers at the official community plan public hearing shows that the community is overall pretty satisfied. And as our councillors have pointed out, several of those inputs were about particular parcels of land. And so I'm quite comfortable dealing with those once we've got the general document passed, and there is a process to do that. And I expect there's other individual property owners, and there was a lot, who came forward about their particular land that did not get changed in the process. because it wasn't a general consensus. So I expect that we may see more, we may see those in the future, and that then it's council's role to decide. So overall, I want to thank staff, thank Mr. Buxton and his staff for all of their work and dedication to the plan, and I will certainly vote in favor. I'll give you one more chance. Councillor Flynn.
Yeah, no, I'm focused on a piece that didn't make sense to me, but I'm fully supportive of everything else. Now that I understand that an OCP amendment can be applied for and council can discuss it at that time if it ever is, I fully support all the work that's been done. I don't want to minimize the input or anything else. I was just confused between what happened between second and third, and perhaps we should have had a meeting at first and then be able to change it for second. I don't know. I just feel a little frustrated there, but I fully support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Flynn. I see no other speakers, so I'll call the question. Just wait. Yeah. Councillor Wallace Richmond, did I miss you out? No, I didn't. Okay, all those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you, staff. Thank you, council. Councillors, we'll go to correspondence next. There's two pieces, 13.1.3 and 13.1.4, with particular asks. If someone wants to take those on to start with, and then we can open it up to others. Councillor Cannon.
Thank you. Oh my goodness, what number was it that I took? The Salmon Arm film proposal for City Council review.
Yeah, that's 13.1.4. Thank you.
So this is interesting. I actually was talking to a fellow councillor, used to be a councillor in Enderby, and he had told me that this entertainment company was coming back to Enderby to shoot a film. So this was exciting that we got this letter for our community to be involved somehow, some way. So there is an ask here, and I wondered if possibly our CAO had any more information other than just this letter, if she's been in contact with the letter writer.
CAO?
Through your worship, yes, Mr. Weidman has come and done a site visit to council chambers and has spoken with us about the request. And we've spoken as staff, and we believe we can accommodate the request inside council chambers. It is on a weekend, and so we would be able to come in and make sure that they were able to be in the room and everything was returned by the time we needed the room on Monday. And then there is another request about a street closure, which we aren't concerned about either. So it does represent a really exciting opportunity for Salmon Arm. And in the absence of having a film permit process, which we will be working on in the new year, we're bringing it to council's attention for support.
Okay, so that was going to be my question. So what process? Because I mean, working on tourism and the film commission issues that working on our committee, I didn't know if we would have to apply for a permit of some sort.
I think, Councillor Cannon, just a motion to have staff work with Mr. Weidman would be appropriate.
Okay, I will make that motion.
Okay, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Flynn. Do you wish to speak? You spoke a little bit to it, Councillor Cannon. Do you wish to say more?
I think it's really exciting. I know in talking to a friend in Enderby that Mr. Weidman has been there, his crew, setting up stuff and scouting out spots. So this was definitely exciting to see that possibly Salmon Arm could get involved in this as well. So I'm sure that council will support this.
Great, thank you, Councillor Cannon. Councillor Flynn, did you wish to speak to the motion? Is there any further speakers?
Sorry, I do.
Okay, yes, go ahead.
So it says they're going to rent it, and I know sometimes for these, when people rent personal residences in downtown Kelowna or other communities, it's very significant. Do we need to say where the revenue goes, or will will it just pay for the staff time to be here on a weekend?
CAO?
Through your worship, no need for council to include that in the motion. We'll make sure we take care of that in the background and report back to you after.
Okay, so I support Councillor Cannon's comments. I think this is an exciting opportunity and I will vote in favor.
Thank you. Any other speakers to that motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Councillor Flynn,
No,
would you,
different one. Oh, different one.
yeah, would you like to do 13.1.3?
I could do 13.1.3. That wasn't the one I was going to
Okay,
do.
and then
but
we'll leave the mic with you if you don't mind doing that one first.
Okay, I will do 13.1.3 and make a motion that staff work with the Trail Alliance to make sure everything that's needed will make this event happen. It's happened the last 2 years, one in pouring rain and one in beautiful sunshine. It's been a fun event. Sold 50-50, I think, at both of them. And I think this is a great event to kick off our year with live music and celebrate our trails. So I will ask staff, or I will make the motion that staff work with the Trail Alliance to support this.
Great, thank you. And Councillor Wallace Richmond seconds that. Did you wish to speak further to the motion?
I think I did before I even, while I was making a pretty lengthy motion, if all of that was included.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other speakers to the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Okay, that passes unanimously. And now, Councillor Flynn, you have the mic for the other item that you wish to speak to.
The other one I wanted to speak to, and I'll just do this one and then wait for others, is 13.1.2.
Okay.
And I don't know that the wording of the email is accurate, that a request for an indoor soccer field has been proposed and quickly rejected. I do know you are part of a group that is working on options. Is there an intent to reply to this person? Is there an intent to let them know that there's an all-weather field that will be open in the spring and is almost completed now to extend the season? I think there's some misinformation in the email, and I would like the misinformation clarified, and maybe you can provide us an update on where things stand. And I see Mr. Giroux is here, so I don't know. The email isn't accurate. Do we write that person and let them know what the facts are? Is it here that we let them know the facts?
Yeah, thank you for the question. On this form, there's always a thing, would you like a response? This person said no,
Okay.
but I'm happy to respond to Ms. Simmons because I noticed that word quickly as well, which is not the case. And I can respond,
Okay.
and I'll copy council so that they have the email.
Okay, thank you. And I do think it's extremely exciting, the photos I've seen of the turf being put down on the all-weather field. And we all know that that's going to probably extend the early season and late season by about 4 months for field users, I would think. So
it is exciting. You are right. Okay, let's go to Councillor Wallace Richmond, 13.1.7.
Thanks, Your Worship. This is a thoughtful letter written about transit, maybe going across under the underpass to the wharf and other residential areas. I would merely ask that we could forward it to our partners at BC Transit so they might consider it in their annual review of transit services in Salmon Arm.
Certainly. Do we need a motion to refer it to transit or can we just do that? Director of Engineering and Public Works?
Your Worship, the city is responsible for transit. It's not BC Transit that would reroute or provide new routes. It's up to the city to determine whether they need a new route in that area.
Okay, so this information is not information that would be considered by BC Transit.
That's correct. We would have to, in order for this to move forward, council would need to support this, and then it would go into the planning phase for BC Transit to see if it was fundable.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Wallace Richmond, with that information, do you have different comments or similar comments?
Is there no other way to see if it was fundable?
Well, it is fundable by us.
How else do you go into transit planning without letting BC or BC Transit know that there's some interest. I mean, I know we've had letters from people asking the bus to go by the senior center. I'm not sure where we ended up on that, but it was a subject of a conversation with BC Transit, was it not? Or maybe I'm.
No, you're accurate there. So perhaps that question's a little bit different, and I'll just ask Director of Engineering and Public Works. You probably recall. Yeah, okay, please go ahead.
Your Worship. So each year, BC Transit puts out a 3-year projection, and it's up to City Council or staff to present any route changes, and Council can consider that. But there is an obligation moving forward to fund that if it's successful. So essentially, it's a planning phase. If I would suspect that in the spring, we'll get another opportunity to look at other options for routing.
Okay.
And then it could be supported by council and then presented to BC Transit for planning to see what the actual cost would be.
Right. Yeah, Your Worship, I mean, I would like to explore it. I don't know that I want to decide right on the spot whether or not we support it without knowing whether it's doable or how much it would cost. But I'd be looking for guidance on anything we might be able to do at this time as a result of this letter.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Walsh-Fritchman. I think my suggestion would be, I think it's good information for council. We of course have other inputs regarding transit, industrial park, other areas around the city. So when that review comes up, I think that would be a good opportunity for council to talk about those things, talk about priorities, perhaps things that they feel they may want to expand if we can afford. I think probably that's the best way to handle it.
Okay, and so then I would just ask, can we make sure this letter is added to the file when it comes up for consideration again?
Yes, we will certainly do that.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just add that really appreciate Ms. Gorzin's letter as well. And we did receive similar to this before with a similar list of names. And at that time, we talked about it. One of the things is most of these residents live in Lakeside Manor, which does have a transit bus. And the last letter is from Mr. Brighouse. And when I talked to Mr. Brighouse about it, he said that they couldn't afford to run that bus 5 days a week from there. And he thought, well, if we had a transit system there, it would be able to run both ways, which is a good point. I did point out to Mr. Brighouse that the taxpayers may be in the same boat, and that certainly it is about money, but certainly we'll keep this letter and we'll keep it in the file for further discussion. Councillor Walsh-Fritchman, did you have other items?
Not at this time.
Okay, let's go to Councillor Cannon next.
13.1.5, a letter from S. Demour.
Yes, please go ahead.
So we've actually had a few other emails, I know, in our inboxes in regards to the memorial being taken down. And now it is somewhat of a tenting pad, I might say. And a lot of people are not happy with what's being set up on there, especially since the fencing has gone down. There's fires burning, lots of tents and lots of people gathered there. So I kind of agree with this letter writer that perhaps we should look at putting the fence back up. And I know we've had some other letters as well with that suggestion. So I just wondered, Your Worship, have you responded to this letter? And what could we look at doing?
Sure, no, appreciate that. I have talked to Mr. Moore before, haven't responded to this particular letter. at this time. But I think that she makes a reasonable point. It is a little bit related to the letter from the Shusharp Agricultural Association. And what I can tell you is that Shusharp Agricultural Association took over the lease of the fence that is protecting their property currently. And on the map that was provided to us by Mr. Syme, I don't know if, is it possible to get that map on the screen or no? Oh, yes, it is. Yeah, there it is. So presently, the red line, the leased fence is on the red line. And the Fall Fair Association or the Agricultural Association decided to continue the lease of that fence. So they're paying for that fence because without the Memorial Arena there, there's no fence between there and the property. Now, as you can see, the Shusharp Agricultural Association proposal is either build a permanent fence where it's red, build a permanent fence where it's green, asking for the city's help. I would suggest that Mr. Syme's letter be included in this year's budget considerations for council to consider at that time. So that's my thoughts at this time, but I'm open to other suggestions that councillors might have.
So could I just?
Yes, please go ahead, your mic.
If we put up fencing around the memorial site, like further around where this map coming out there, to totally enclose the area where the memorial was taken down, do you think, I guess maybe Public Works or perhaps Darren might have some input on whether that could keep encampment out of there?
Yeah, what you can see the fence that's suggested there.
Yeah.
The
I think
actual people that are tenting now are actually not tenting inside that green property. They're actually outside it.
I know they're on
parking lot.
the memorial spot. So I'm saying we should look at fencing around the memorial.
Well, that is the memorial. That is. But what I'm saying to you is that it does not fence the parking lot area. And the area where people are camped right now is outside that green line.
Okay.
What I can say is that the fence put up at the Pollution Control Center, which is similar to the fence suggested here, is keeping the Pollution Control Center safe.
Okay.
So I think it certainly would provide an area of protection.
I think that we should look at enclosing this area. And myself, I don't think that we should wait till budget time to figure out, how we can pay for it, how much it's going to cost, because we do know that we possibly have some funds that we could tap into. Because if we wait and the weather's getting colder, that encampment is going to be bigger and there's going to be more to be cleared out of there. So I think time is of the essence. We need to deal with this sooner than later.
Okay, no, appreciate had similar thoughts. So appreciate that. I guess one of the questions I would have is, do we expand the fence line to include the parking lot of the Memorial Arena?
Yes, I think we do.
So those are questions, of course, that would affect budget.
And I know that one letter that we have, saying that we came in under budget when we demolished the memorial, is there's some money there that we could use, I think, to put around this property. Because if the longer we leave it, I mean, we had a fire on the weekend in a commercial building downtown. So as the weather gets colder, people are going to be huddling up closer to, areas. And I think that the encampment will get bigger.
I appreciate those thoughts. I think others may also want to speak to that. So,
I won't make a motion
not
yet,
at this
but
time,
I
but
will.
we'll gather some information.
But
We'll go to Councillor Lavery first, and then Councillor Flynn, I think, if he wants to speak on this. Councillor Lavery, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. I'll start off with a question and then general comment, which is essentially in agreement with what Councillor Cannon is saying. So my question is, and I don't have the map handy, where is the city boundary? And I'm thinking of the parking lot. Does it go right up to the wall of the Salvation Army property?
I'll ask the Director of Engineering and Public Works that question.
Without seeing the legal plans, I believe that we own the parking lot, the city owns the parking lot, and so it would go up to the retaining wall. I don't know whose retaining wall it actually is.
Thank you very much. So as a follow-up comments, Your Worship, I agree time is of the essence here. There's budget process and an allocation of money and things like that. This is not a motion, but maybe we could craft one after more conversation, but I would like to see staff come up with a way of interim funding this out of 2025 budget monies, including council initiatives, whatever we have to do this. Time is of the essence, I believe, and to do the wider perimeter as we are talking about now. And I'll just leave it at that. That's my take right now.
Okay, thank you for that. And just so for clarity for wider, and as you said, you couldn't see the map. Basically, you're suggesting up to the roadway and then along the boundary of the Salvation Army and the city, Councillor Flynn or Councillor Lavery, right?
In general, in principle, yes. I'm certainly open to staff's structural additions or on that, but in general, that's the idea, yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Recognizing that this is city property under the city jurisdiction.
Okay, Councillor Lavery, I'm gonna put you on the spot and ask for that motion in as concise a way as you can.
Okay, I didn't want to take anybody's thunder.
I think Councillor Cannon is wanting to make the motion, actually.
Yeah,
She's saying to me over here. Okay, Councillor Cannon, go ahead.
I would like to make the motion that we go ahead and put up fencing to encompass the parking lot as well, so that the area is, people can't get in there to camp. And I would make in the motion that we use the money, the extra money that we had from taking down demolition of the memorial.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Councillor Lavery, would you second the motion?
I will, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll go to Councillor Flynn first and then Councillor Wallace Richmond to speak to the motion. Councillor Flynn.
Thank you, Your Worship. Fully support the discussion, support the motion, but I wanted to speak before the motion was made because we have Mr. Giroux here, and I spent 3 summers building fences for the school district in Campbell River. And believe it or not, worked with my hands and my back and all that fun stuff, and became a bit of a fence building expert. And I'm pretty sure we won't be able to build a fence in about a week or 2, depending on how cold it gets. So as much as time is of the essence, and I fully support the motion, I feel like we should have asked Mr. Giroux if it's even possible to build before spring.
We can ask Mr. Giroux now and we can amend the motion if we need to. Mr. Giroux, can you comment?
Yes, thank you, through your worship. Excuse me, all dependent on weather. Once the ground freezes up, I don't think we'll have a fencing contractor able to install the fence. If we continue getting this warm weather and we act really fast, maybe, but it's highly doubtful.
So that leads me to a follow-up question.
Yes, go ahead, Councillor.
Is the motion to do a permanent fence? Because if we do, I would want to make sure it's done around our property so that if we build a building down there someday, it is used, not just for this temporary use. Or is the motion to bring in those setup fences for special events? Because I can't see us getting this built before it freezes.
I think the motion is a permanent fence, but I'm sure staff would come back if the time was short with a different suggestion.
Yeah, because I know we need to do something. I agree time is of the essence, but unfortunately we should have probably done this in September. once or sooner, but we didn't know how much of a problem it was going to be. So I can't see us building a permanent fence, so I'm going to struggle to support the motion. And I'm not sure I support a temporary fence, depending on what it costs to rent or lease or beg, borrow, and steal. So I fully support the intent of the motion, just don't think it can happen.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Wallace Richmond, please go ahead.
Thanks, Your Worship. So our bylaws are very clear. Use of public space. It's forbidden to establish an encampment, and we know that. I suspect others know that as well. That said, it is a place where it's more likely to happen. If we do not put a fence, it will continue. If we put a fence, it might abate it somewhat. Either way, it's going to cost money. I think in the long run, it would be cheaper and more important to signal to the community that we need to protect this piece of property and to send the message that this is not a place to camp. So with that said, I would support the motion. I expect it will be a temporary fence, temporarily, until such time as we can move forward with something more permanent.
Thank you, Councillor Wallace Richmond. Further speakers to the motion? Councillor Cannon.
Yes, I know so the fencing that the Shuswap Agricultural Association has right now is the temporary one, isn't it?
Yeah,
Could
that was
someone
the fencing that the contractor
Yeah.
had up. And then the Agricultural Association asked the contractor if they would pass the lease to them. And so, yes, it's the blue fencing that's there on
Yeah.
a temporary basis.
So if we are unable to do anything permanent, which is what I'm hearing, it might be hard if the weather gets cold, which I think it's supposed to get cold next week. I guess I would like us to look at renting some fencing to get something up there until such a time that we can build something more permanent.
And it may be possible, Councillor Cannon, I think everyone at the table has the same intention, is that lease fencing that's being leased by the fair could, if the city took over that lease, could move that fencing so it's surrounding the whole property.
Yeah.
It's possible.
I don't know how to capture that in a motion, but I'm just wondering if we can look at options, work with the Shuswap Agricultural Association and get that property fenced, whether it's permanent, renting, getting some from the Shuswap Agricultural Association's rental of the fencing. But I just think that we need to get on this like tomorrow.
I'm going to ask our CAO you can hear council's intention. I think everyone has a similar idea. Is it possible to craft a motion that would fit council's intention here?
Yes, Your Worship. My only question is, do you want us to report back on December 8th, or do you want us to move forward with it?
Yeah, I think I'm hearing council would like staff to move forward with it.
Okay, Your Worship, my understanding of the motion is that you are giving us authorization to access funds that were originally intended for the demolition of the Memorial Arena and to secure whatever fencing we can. There will be a procurement process involved to fence off the full perimeter, including the parking lot, by either a permanent fence or a rental if we can't do that due to weather.
Yes, I think that does encompass what council is thinking. So I'm just going to go back then to Councillor Cannon and see if she would withdraw the original motion and make a second motion of the CAO's.
The CAO's motion, the wording of her motion.
Are you happy to withdraw your first one?
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Yeah, did you get that down?
Councillor Lavery, would you be willing to second Councillor Cannon's new motion as she withdrew the first one?
Yes, good job, Councillor Cannon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pat myself on the back. I just have one question.
Councillor Cannon speaking to the motion.
I just wondered if in there because we do have that letter from the Shuswap Agricultural Association working with them and tidying up the perimeter with possible some of their fencing.
Yeah, I think that wouldn't be encompassed in the motion.
Yeah,
I think
okay.
staff will look after that.
Good.
Thank you for mentioning it. Yeah.
But I just think that we need to like literally start working on this right away.
Okay, thank you very much.
And it's the surplus funds from the memorial demo.
And that is in the motion. Councillor Flynn.
Yeah, I fully support the very well worded motion by Councillor Cannon after the changes. I feel this has to be done. I was concerned about trying to build a permanent fence. I think the only way we'll be able to do it is working with that fencing that's there and adding to it, and hopefully staff has enough direction to work with the Fall Fair and or the Agricultural Area Association and make it happen. Sad that we have to do this, but we have to do it. So I fully support the new motion, and moving forward, I think we need to think about a more permanent solution in the spring, perhaps, once we can do so. And hopefully when we do that, we do it where we aren't having to tear it down if we make something happen down there. So that's all I'll say. And I really appreciate everybody's comments because it's definitely a concern.
Thank you, Councillor Flynn. And I think your assumptions are correct. If indeed we end up with a temporary fence there due to the weather, staff would come back to us in the spring with a permanent solution, and we may have learned from the temporary fence that's there. Okay, is there any further speakers to that motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you, Council, for working through that. Are there other items that councillors wish to speak to? I think Councillor way back, Councillor Lavery, 13.1.6. Ah, yes. Thanks for the reminder. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. And I just a typo with my pudgy fingers on 12.1.6. If we could go to 13.1.6, it is a letter from Carolyn Dolan, and who is a resident in the Motorhome Park, right next to 97B 10th Avenue and the encampment that is there on Ministry of Transport property. And I'm a little worried I'm going to lose my voice here, Your Worship. If I do, I'll take a break and then I'll come back. I just want to start off by saying that I really appreciate Councillor Ms. Dolan and her neighbor reached out to the city. Councillor Wallace Richmond and I met with them virtually, clarified some things, recognized that there's confusion on other things, but I really want to salute them, thank them for the respectful way that they brought this forward in a very meaningful way, in a step-by-step way. Their letter is very clear. What is unclear to me is not their letter. What is unclear to me is that out there, and I'm just going to be speaking broadly, I'm not pointing any fingers here right now, but there is unlike what we just talked about the city property down by the Memorial Arena, under the city's jurisdiction, this property, an encampment on it, is not within the city's jurisdiction. And it creates, in my view, not only a gray area, but a gray area in understanding. And again, I want to thank Ms. Dolan because they are saying, who do we talk to? How do we clarify this? How do we get something going? I believe they have the same legitimate situation and concerns that we've just talked about on what city property is. So, Your Worship, at this stage, I've got my own thoughts on this. I do think that there's an opportunity here, but there's some work to be done. And the first part of that is clarity in defining whose actual jurisdiction is responsible, especially for bylaw enforcement and fire inspection. And I have to say, I'm going to suggest that we ask Ms. Dolan to, that we will get back to her, to hold on, that we've heard what she said. I agree that there needs to be clarity. I agree that there needs to be a consistent voice. And I think there's an opportunity for communication here with the city, with other, perhaps the police, perhaps Interior Health, and our MLA to be advocating for, in my view, what is an inadequate response from the Ministry of Transport on their property. So, Your Worship, I want to, again, I'm just trying to summarize that. Perhaps Councillor Wallace Richmond wants to give her views on this. But my suggestion is that we take this, they've asked for a response, and that we commit to getting a response back in as short a time frame as possible, A, and B, that we come up with a clear and concise and consistent communication back to the province. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lavery, and I think Councillor Wallace Richmond also wants to comment on that. As housing representatives, thank you both for meeting with Ms. Dolan. So Councillor Wallace Richmond, please go ahead if you would like to add.
Yeah, thank you. What I most appreciated about the meeting was it was very productive and really the best way to approach a very difficult situation. I am deeply concerned about that neighborhood, the toxic smoke, the sanitation. I'm deeply concerned about the residents who live in that neighborhood, the confusion around who do they call, when do they call, what do they call about. I'm also concerned for vulnerable people who live in encampments which are dangerous, unsafe buildings, unsafe sanitation conditions, unsafe situation all around. And I would just think it's interesting if you consider our previous conversation about a piece of property that the city of Salmon Arm owns versus a piece of property that is technically owned by the province of British Columbia. Now, are there any circumstances under which the city of Salmon Arm would say to the province, would say to someone, if you have a problem with our property, call the province? No. And in that sense, this is what's happening here, is the province is saying, if you have concerns, phone the city of Salmon Arm. It is not clear yet to me that we have jurisdiction over this piece of property. Of course we do for fire, I would imagine. We respond to fire issues on private pieces of property. Ambulance, of course. But as for, bylaw interactions, it's not clear to me. And I really don't appreciate the fact that the province somehow thinks it's okay to say, if you have a problem, phone city bylaw. So now I could harp on that, which I have just done, but really the answer is for everyone involved in this situation to get together and figure out a way forward, because this is not a sustainable situation. It's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. Do we have an ability to help in some way? Yes. But it cannot be left in our hands alone. And we need clarity around what the plan is for that piece of property and whether or not the province of BC is considering any action as a result of this illegal encampment. And so until we know that, it makes it very complicated, but we will continue to advocate on behalf of the neighborhood, on behalf of, and I think it's the most important part is that we continue to work together, but that we recognize that there are serious jurisdictional issues. And it's not okay for one jurisdiction to say to the other jurisdiction, just phone the other guy and they'll deal with it until we can get around to it. So we need to address this in a completely different way than the previous one, but it's not safe and it can't go on. So I really appreciate these neighbors stepping up for the well-being of their own neighborhood, but also for the well-being of the folks who live here. That property is not to be used as a place to set up an encampment, and it needs to end at some point. We need to find a way to do that sooner rather than later.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Wallace Richmond, and for your piece in intervening. I'm just going to ask the CAO if she wishes to make any comments. I think we both agree with you both on all of your comments, and we've also tried to intervene. CAO, do you have any comments you'd like to make?
Thank you, Your Worship. I've had recent discussions with the ministry about this specific property, and I have been advised that the city does not have jurisdiction over the property. Those discussions are continuing with the ministry. They're aware of our concerns, and they have shared an email where any concerned citizens or council members can reach out to the ministry to engage with staff.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to Councillor Flynn, then Councillor Lavery. Councillor Flynn.
Thank you, Worship, and thank you for letting the CAO update us on that piece, because I happen to be wearing Grinch socks today and everybody's being so nice, and I was going to be the Grinch when it came to the response from the Ministry of Transport and our esteemed minister of that Ministry of Transport.
Councillor Flynn, we're not going to talk about people. We're just going to talk about the issue.
I feel the response pointing the finger back to us is inaccurate. The CAO has just confirmed that. I feel that the fact that we've had two councillors reach out and try to work with this person who wrote a very good email is extremely positive, and I feel it's positive that staff has now confirmed it's not our jurisdiction, it's not our job, and there's an email provided for the community. All that being said, do we have any details on how Moat got involved? As you enter into Vernon, there was on the right-hand side, just before the car dealership, there was some tree houses, and for about a week, there was nonstop crews and hazmat cleaning that site up, and that, I believe, is MOTT site. So I guess I struggle to understand why they were involved in that and they don't want to be in this. So I guess I'm sure staff's aware of what happened there. I'm sure that it was a joint effort, but it was mostly MOTT, I believe. And I just feel frustrated that the finger would be pointed back to our bylaw, our staff. And I'm glad we're moving it forward. And I think we need to point to that example right down the road.
Thank you, Councillor Flynn. Councillor Lavery, you had further comments?
Yeah, thanks. Just to finish it off, Your Worship. So Ms. Dolan said she, I'm just quoting her letter here, acknowledged the jurisdiction for bylaw enforcement in this encampment. And it's very clear we can't say that at this stage. I think what I'm hearing, and it's a personal commitment as well, is that we will clarify as much as we can and get as clear communication as we can from all parties. I would suggest the city, the RCMP, our MLA, neighbors, to indeed access those communication portal that our CAO is referring to. And I would ask Ms. Dolan to hold on until we get back to her.
Thank you. I think those are really good suggestions, Councillor Lavery. And we're certainly not going to give up on this property. What I can add, and I think most of council's aware, is that I've been in contact with our MLA, who wrote a letter to the minister. And in this letter, Ms. Dolan says, during my meetings with MLA Williams, he stated his expectation is by the end of 12 months, the MOTT will have this encampment removed. So I have spoken with MLA Williams, because that's an important piece of information and we need to know where it came from so that we can follow up. He has not contacted me with that piece of information yet. But he's told me he would this week. So I'm looking forward to that piece. I think Councillor Wallace Richmond made a good point. We have a problem on our property, the Memorial Arena property. And we are doing something about it, like right away. This is the province's property. And if it was owned by a resident, they would have to clean it up. And we would be able to make them do that. It seems much more difficult with the Ministry of Transportation and Transit. And you can see it all over the province. But the property we're worried about is this one. And so I appreciate Councillor's comments. And I think saying to Ms. Dolan that we are on it and we will certainly get back to you, especially with your questions around jurisdiction and how the city can help. So we will make a commitment to do that and appreciate those residents. The situation is not satisfactory there. Absolutely, I totally agree. Is there any other comments around that particular piece at this time? Okay, thank you very much. Any other items you wish to speak to? Councillor Flynn.
Very quick one, 13.1.15 was a late one. Yes, ties into the downtown celebration on Saturday and downtown Salmon Arm. I'll make a motion that staff work with downtown Salmon Arm to allow placement temporarily of a storage unit for the Yuletide Village.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Cannon, thank you. Do you wish to speak to that further, Councillor Flynn?
No, I've got some others that are quick too, but not that one.
Okay. Anyone else wish to speak to that one? Councillor Wallace Richmond, I see you have a question mark with that number. Did you wish to say anything about it?
No, I just wanted to make sure someone would cover it. Thanks.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right, all those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you. Another item, Councillor Flynn, please go ahead.
13.1.12 shouldn't take too long, I don't think. The response from Minister Popham after our UBCM meeting, I think we can say nothing but positive about our meeting with her and the fact that the rail trail is now being built on agricultural land, partly because of our meeting. And I want to thank staff and other councillors for attending that. Minister Popham does want to come visit us. I know their travel budgets are very restricted, so I'm not sure we should send a letter to say we can accommodate her without her having to get a hotel in Salmon Arm, but we look forward to her visiting. So I don't know if anybody feels we should do a response letter or just know that she's hoping to come. And she wants to go biking on the rail trail. 13.1.13, we're dealing with a bunch of somewhat negative stuff here and reality, but it's always so nice to get a thank you to staff and the team and the city, like 13.1.13 does. I think that's the right one.
Yep.
So I think the mayor, I'd like to ask the mayor to write a response letter to thank that person for their positive comments.
I can do that.
Thank you. And the last one I have might not be as short, it might be very short, but the correspondence from the member who put the member bill forward about professional, what's the word, the professional reliance model, and asking it to be eliminated, and we have to go through a government agency if we have concerns about a professional and their report. I don't know if today's the time to deal with it, but there's a short time frame to provide input. So I guess I would ask staff if they're in a position to respond to that, not necessarily that writer, but the UBCM request for input.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Flynn. I'll pass that to the CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have been in conversations with the manager of building and planning, and she is position to make comments related to her position as a registered professional planner. But we also have the Director of Planning and Community Services here who may be able to speak further about it.
And before you go ahead, Mr. Buxton, I just wanted to say that the CSRD is planning a fairly significant response. We had a board meeting last week, and there's extreme concern that this is going to do the exact opposite as to, well, I don't see how it'll speed up housing approvals. But anyway, the CSRD does not support the proposed legislation in any way, shape, or form.
Mr. Buxton?
Through the chair. Yes, we've had some preliminary conversation at the staff level. I don't think in any way we would provide a letter of anything that was other than a don't do this. It's a really bad idea. I've already filed my own private response as an RPP registered professional planner. We could certainly, based on the RDNO response, the UBCM, we could certainly craft something that maybe Ms. Smurl, myself, and Ms. Jackson were comfortable in responding back to UBCM. It certainly would not be a positive response. I mean, I'm not aware of any. I mean, I've been in BC in 8 years, and I've never seen an RPP, a QEP report on a housing project effect. So I'm not sure what problem's being assaulted. It seems like taking a jackhammer to a mosquito. But what it will do is deny a municipality the ability to question a QEP on a forestry issue, on an RP bio issue, on a geohazard issue, where I have seen, or on a TIA, traffic impact assessment. PNG puts that in, we're done. Whereas right now, the default response is a peer review. It's an entirely manageable process. It's entirely doable. It's accepted by the relevant professions, and that would now become impossible. And now we have to submit a complaint to the superintendent. I have no idea how they're going to handle those. How they would even begin to understand some of the technical and professional issues that they would be asked to deal with. I mean, you could have forestry issue, you could have a biological issue with riparian issues, a geohazard issue. The superintendent wouldn't have any staff that would be able to deal with any of those issues. So, you know, I'm gone around the barn a couple of times on this one, haven't I? Yeah. We could certainly provide a response that would discourage the province from pursuing this any further.
Would you like to make a motion in that regard, Councillor Flynn?
Yeah, I just was going to ask you if you felt the motion should be that staff on behalf of the city write a letter, or that you write a letter with staff's assistance so that it has the political clout, because it sounds like the professional staff are doing their own letters. From their experience, should it come from, what does council think, from the mayor or from staff?
I'm happy to work with staff to come up with a letter to respond.
That would be my motion.
Okay. Seconder to the motion. Thank you, Councillor Wallace-Richmond.
Speak to it.
Go ahead, Councillor Flynn.
I want to make it really clear. I believe in the professional reliance model, but it has to have checks and balances. And I think the check and balance of peer review, other professionals in the same industry doing it in a 2 to 3 week period without involving the government, is the reliance. I find it extremely ironic that a member of the current government is writing to kind of ignore any checks and balance of a professional reliance model that for years they did not support. So I really appreciate that our staff has taken this on personally, and I would really appreciate a very strongly worded letter along the lines of what UBCM is saying, what staff has said to deal with this. And it's not about professional reliance, it's about checks and balances.
Thank you, Councillor Flynn. Councillor Lavery.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. I agree with what others have said. I also think it's about practicality as well. And so I think that I'm glad it's coming. I think individual professionals are writing in, various local governments are writing in. I think this letter representing the stance of this council writing in is important. This is, UBCM is right on this. And UBCM is saying, poorly thought out, well-intentioned perhaps, poorly thought out, poorly implemented. Why is there a cutoff date for input for December 2nd when there are all sorts of anybody working on the ground, and that includes politicians, in our discussions that we have today, even in the OCP, recognize that there are implicit undertakings that come out of false steps. And in my view, this is it. Others have said that as well. It's a complete lack of consultation in the timeline. So I think that we need, this comes amidst attempts at housing policies to speed housing up. Laudable. We've in our OCP have endorsed a lot of that. But this one here is fraught with misunderstanding. It's premature at the best, and it needs further consultation. So I know I'm just piling on here, Your Worship, as others are doing, but it's speaking to the strength of the wording, I think, that we need to put into this, as other local governments are doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lavery. Does anyone else have any thoughts on this one? Okay, I appreciate Mr. Buxton's expertise, and he will help write a letter. You know, what I see happening is trying to apply a general rule to a situation that may only affect very, very few. And my advice, like, we're doing fine here at Salmon Arm, thank you. Please just back away from the housing and the land use piece. We can look after our own place. And with each one of these, I see an edging that way. And our community spoken loudly in our official community plan. Our plans in many ways mirror the housing plans of the province, but we don't need this kind of input in the situation that we're in here. So certainly support the letter, and we will go ahead and write it. I'll call a question on the motion. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay. I think we've looked after the informational correspondence. You know, I think council does a very good job. It's an opportunity for residents to bring forward things that that perhaps we don't know about, or expand on issues that they may have. So appreciate council's looking specifically at them. Okay, we will go to council statements. Does any councillor have a statement? Okay, I don't see any today. So we'll go to notice of motion. Councillor Lindgren's notice of motion will come up at our next meeting. Thank you to her for presenting that. We will go then to other business, 18.1, which is motion released from in camera. And that's open for the public. We'll go then to 18.2. There's two pieces to 18.2. The first one is Salmon Arm Roots and Blues Festival Liaison. Thank you to each of the councillors for taking the time to meet with me and talk about how things have gone in the last year and your future plans. Our intention was not to adjust very many of the committee assignments. Councillor Cannon has done yeoman's work with the 55+ games. Now it's over. Thank you, Councillor Cannon. So she has willingly stepped up and said, hey, I'll take on another committee. So I would entertain a motion to sign Councillor Cannon as the Salmon Arm Roots and Blues Festival Liaison from the city. Someone would like to make it. Councillor Flynn would make it. Councillor Lavery would second. All those in favor? Thank you, Councillor Cannon, for stepping up and doing that. Okay, 18.2.2 is the Shuswap Watershed Council Strategic Planning Committee. And Council, this is a letter we looked at our last meeting, and there was a motion from November the 10th. And I'll just read you the motion just to remind you what it was. Perhaps you've already looked this up, but just so everybody has the same information. So the motion we made was moved by Councillor Lavery, seconded by Councillor Ganella, that council appoint, in principle, a representative to the Shuswap Watershed Council for the sole purpose of participating in the Shuswap Watershed Council strategic planning process. And I agreed that I would speak with you each when we were meeting one-on-one to see if there was a person who would like to do that and get endorsement. Thank you, councillors, for talking about it. Council agreed that Councillor Lavery would be a good appointment, and he has also agreed to it. So I see Councillor Wallace-Richmond is moving that Councillor Lavery be that representative, and Councillor Flynn is seconding. Are there speakers to that motion? Councillor Cannon.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you, Councillor Lavery, for doing that, stepping up to work on the strategic planning. The other comment I just wanted to make is that this is us working, or Councillor Lavery working with the Shuswap Watershed Council on the strategic planning of it, because I felt when I was on that committee, this is something that needed to be looked at. And this isn't committing any funds right now to Shuswap Watershed Council. This is strictly being involved with the strategic planning. So I just thank you for doing that, Councillor Lavery.
Thank you, Councillor Cannon. You're exactly right. No financial commitment and no request for a seat at the table, but participation in strategic planning process. Any further speakers? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Thank you very much. Yes, just before we do a question and answer period, Councillor Flynn has remembered a council statement. So please go ahead, Councillor Flynn.
Yeah, sorry to circle back, but I should have mentioned that the CSRD had a board meeting last week, and I was returned to the vice chair position with Chair Melnichuk, who in my opinion has done a great job as chair. It's a pleasure to work beside her, and we do take a team approach. And she has been excellent to work with, and I'm excited to be the chair for another, or vice chair for another year, and work with Chair Melnichuk.
Thank you, Councillor Flynn. I think you two make a good team there. So thank you for your participation as well. All right, we're at question and answer period. Is there any questions from anyone who's with us virtually today? If you have a question, you're with us virtually, please indicate on the chat line you have a question. Okay, I see no questions. Council, we had a couple of items that we didn't quite finish in camera. So if I could have a motion to return to in camera shortly. Councillor Flynn, thank you. Seconded, Councillor Cannon. All those in favor? Thank you. Thank you very much, staff. Thank you to members of the public and the media who were with us. Appreciate your participation. As reminded before, there's no evening session today.
Your worship,
Yes, Councillor Wallace-Richmond?
can we just have 5 minutes?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So
Yeah,
8.
5:10.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you.
is that good?
Yeah.
Yeah, 8:10 out there.
Yeah, exactly. Thank
Okay,
you.
yes, no problem.